It being 7 o'clock, we do have a quorum. I'm going to be opening the May 6, 2021 Planning Board meeting. First order of business is I want to read an order pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Halifax Planning Board is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in this order. I also want to mention that this meeting is being videotaped on Area 58. I need a roll call of the members present.
Gordon,
Amy,
Rick,
Alan Diaz. Okay. Our first order of business is going to be bills. So I'm looking for a motion to pay a bill to Amazon Business, must be office supplies.
motion to pay the Amazon Business Capital Services bill invoice 1M68-46FQ-3LHN for office supplies for a headset, $59.99.
Okay, do I have a second?
Gordon seconds.
Gordon second. I'll go to a roll call vote. I'm going to start, Gordon, with you first. You're on top.
Yes.
Amy?
Yep.
Rick?
yes.
Alan, yes. Next order of business is going to be advertising for the, with the Plimpton Halifax Reporter. Amy, do you mind?
No, I don't. Motion to pay the Express newspaper invoice A9553CL in the amount of $84 for 894 Plymouth Street.
Second.
And Gordon has a second. I'll go to a roll call vote. Gordon?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Alan, yes. Next order of business is going to be, again, another advertisement. Do you mind, Amy?
Motion to pay in an Express newspaper's invoice for A9530CL for Flower and Soul Inc. in the amount of $84.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll go to a roll call. Gordon?
Yes.
Amy?
Yep.
Rick?
Yes.
Alan, yes. Okay. It's 7:04. I'm gonna just hang tight for a second instead of trying to get into something else. We do have a 7:05 hearing. And we'll just hang in for a second instead of getting in the middle of something. Unless anybody's got any questions prior to our hearing. Okay, let me see what time we have.
7:04.
7:04? Okay.
Oh, just turned 7:05. I'll make a motion to open the hearing, the public hearing. The Halifax Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, May 6, 2021 at 7:05 p.m. via Zoom meeting, ID number 812-570-9754 on the application by Flower and Soul Incorporated. Parentheses, Brian Wall is the owner, Buddy Miles LLC, to be located in units 2 and 3 at 894 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Massachusetts, 02338, as shown on Assessor's Map 58, Lot 4-0-R, recorded in Book 46591, page 133, to obtain a site plan review as defined under Halifax zoning bylaw sections 167-3 and 167-7, schedule of use regulations, specific use regulations for marijuana establishments. The applicant is seeking to operate the marijuana dispensary and establishment in Unit 2, which is 900 square feet, for retail, and Unit 3 for storage and an employee area. There will be 26 customer parking spaces and 5 employee parking spaces. Area is zoned business.
Make a second to that?
Okay, I'll accept the second. Do we need to, this is a public hearing, but not a formal, but I'll take a second and then we'll vote to go into the public hearing. So we have a second and I'll go to a roll call. Gordon,
Yes.
Amy?
Yep.
Rick?
Yes.
Alan, yes. We are now in the public hearing for the Flower and Soul. I just want to point out to everybody, we'll have a presentation. Try to keep all of the questions directed to the chair so we can get some answers. Do we have Mr. Brian Wall? We do.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Wall?
Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having us tonight. I'm actually going to have Adam do our presentation so we can move, quickly through it and hit on the spots and open up so we can answer questions for the board and for the public.
Okay. Adam will identify himself for the record. You said
Thank you,
Adam?
Mr. Chairman. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Adam Braillard. I'm with Prince Lobel Iowa law firm in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Flower and Soul, Inc.
Okay.
We have a presentation.
Can I just be here for 1 second? For those members of the board, I think this presentation is going to start on page 19 of our agenda. I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead. Continue.
Is there a way for me to share my screen?
Yes, there is, through the host.
And we'll get it set up.
That would be great. Thank you. So while we're doing that, what I can do? Oh, great! Quick, you got it. So we'll get right into the presentation. So what I want to do first is just introduce the members of Flower and Soul, and then the members of the team that are on the call or in the meeting tonight. Then go through relatively quick, hopefully, presentation of what we're proposing to do with respect to the site plan, and then we're here to hopefully answer all the questions that the board and the public may have. So first, I want to introduce Brian Wall. He's the founder and CEO of Flower and Soul. Brian's a Massachusetts native. He's a proven entrepreneur with hands-on professional experiences in the worlds of services, technology, and finance. His experience includes founding Adaptive HR, which provides human resources expertise to cannabis industries. Next, we have Brendan McKee. Brendan's a partner and a consultant for Flower and Soul. He's a native of Hull, Massachusetts. He's also a proven entrepreneur. He's co-founded 2 companies in fitness and in the cannabis industries. His experience includes founding or co-founding Silver Therapeutics, which has a number of establishments in Massachusetts operational. We have 3 others in our team that I'd just like to quickly introduce in the event that there are technical questions that folks may have. Jesse Moberg is with Cavini Architectural Collaborative, and Jesse is providing us with engineering project management services in our proposed cannabis establishment. Joe Webby, who I think the board knows and has been in front of the board before, is providing us with land surveying services. And Al Carrier is an independent consultant working for with Flower and Soul, specializing in providing project management and construction services. So with that, I want to just jump right into the proposal. As an overview, I think it was mentioned in the notice, but what Flower and Soul proposes to do is develop an adult use retail marijuana establishment within the existing buildings located at 894 Plymouth Street. It's also known as Route 106 in the town of Halifax. It's located in the commercial business zoning overlay, in the commercial business zoning district. The property and the establishment meets all of the zoning setback, density, and use requirements set forth in the town's zoning bylaws as amended. And the proposed establishment also, as proposed, conforms to the and meets the requirements set forth in the Cannabis Control Commission regulations, the state regulations. Flower and Soul has performed a community meeting as required by the Cannabis Control Commission. It's taken a number of questions from the neighborhood and interested parties. And we've also negotiated a host community agreement with the town. And we propose to file for our state licensure with the Cannabis Control Commission as soon as that host community agreement is executed. So this is a shot of the existing site and the site plan. We're proposing to install within an existing 3,400 square foot building that's located on a almost 61,000 parcel located off of Plymouth Street. The applicant proposes to occupy 1,700 square feet of the building within 2 currently vacant units located in the center of the building. And we'll get into the footprint in just a bit so you can see exactly where those are. The current parking scheme is that there are 26 existing parking spaces with 2 existing handicap parking spaces as well. What the applicant proposes to do, I just went to the next page, but you couldn't really tell, but that's existing. Here's proposed. The applicant proposes no changes to the footprint of the building. The applicant does propose to widen the entrance driveway right here of the entranceway from Plymouth Street onto the property to provide for right and left turn lanes onto Plymouth Street. The applicant also proposes to add 7 parking spaces for a total of 33 parking spaces, which 2 of those would be for handicap spaces. And the applicant also proposes to increase lighting and surveillance cameras inside or in the interior and the exterior of the building for security purposes. Going to the next slide, this shows or tries to depict the parking and what the tenant parking allocations are planned to be. So this shows the 33 parking spaces. Just need to move the photo over a little bit. These are the new parking spaces here and along the back or southern portion of the property. So those would be the increased parking spaces here to total 33. As I said, the building is 3,400 square feet. There's currently 26 parking spaces on there. The applicant proposes to increase the parking spaces to 33. The applicant proposes to take 21 of those parking spaces, not including the handicap spots. Pursuant to the zoning bylaw under section 167-14F, which is the off-street parking regulations, since at least 45% of the parcel is left as green space, the one parking space is required for every 175 square feet of retail space. So Flower and Soul is proposing 1,700 square feet of retail space, and the math suggests that requires between 9 and 10, so we round up to 10 parking spaces. So consequently, with having 21 parking spaces, we feel that the establishment has over twice the amount of parking spaces required or allowed to it, and over twice the amount that's required under the bylaw. This is just a shot of the footprint of the building. The top is a little backwards, but the top is the back of the building. So the top of the picture is the back of the building. The bottom is the front. As you can try to make out, the whiter area are the 2 units in the middle of the building that the applicant proposes to develop, which are currently vacant. The applicant proposes that only one section of this, the total 1,700 square foot, so only 750 square feet will be for actual access for or from the public. So they would enter into this door and do their retail shopping and enter out of that door. And then the other half of the establishment would be for the vaults and storage, as well as offices and for the employees, employee bathrooms. So in terms of traffic, what we did, what Flower and Soul did, was look at a couple of different data points. We first looked at the Mass Department of Transportation data that shows that there's approximately 12,410 vehicle trips per day on average along 106, Route 106 in that area. Basically, that's data taken over the course of a year and divided by 365, and that's how they come up with that number. So it's not as, it's an average daily number. The second report we looked at was the 2019 Old Colony Planning Council report, Route 106 corridor study. And that study based its analysis off the time of day from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. That study found that there were approximately 8,862 vehicles passing along 106 on any given day. So the discrepancy between over 12,000 and 8,862 is because of the time of day. The Mass DOT is a 24-hour day, and the Old Colony study is from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. So nevertheless, we took the Old Colony study when we were doing our analysis. Flower and Soul expects an estimated 240 vehicle trips per day to its establishment. So you take the 8,862, and on any given time of the day, we expect the traffic to increase by only 2.3 to 3% of the average vehicles. So we feel that based on that data, we believe there will be very little impact to the traffic along Route 106 Plymouth Road. Okay, got a few more slides. Nevertheless, we still want to make sure that we can mitigate traffic as best as feasible. So Flower and Soul will take preventative measures to reduce any potential traffic impacts by scheduling customer visits, by encouraging customers to place online orders ahead of time before they're visiting the establishment. We'll offer curbside pickup, and we'll certainly work with the town and the neighborhood to, in the event that there are concerns in connection with traffic generation. All right, as far as fire mitigation, I know that Flower and Soul and its team has worked with the Halifax Fire Chief to ensure that we have an intricate fire prevention program and mitigation system. So we will be, there are existing horns and strobes on site that we will be optimizing, and will certainly conform to all existing codes and regulations. And certainly we will continue to work with the fire department on those measures, as well as any required or additional required fire extinguishers. We've also agreed with the fire department to provide a knockbox in the event that the fire department and or the police department need to access the facility for emergency purposes. And also during the process, including finalizing their construction plans prior to filing a building permit, we'll work with the fire department to get their interests on how we're proposing the fire mitigation. As far as security, Flower and Soul has developed sophisticated safety and secure measures to deter theft of marijuana and marijuana products, to prevent unauthorized access to the establishment and unauthorized entrance into the areas containing marijuana, and to ensure safety of its employees, customers, consumers, and in the community. Flower and Soul is certainly it's Flower and Soul's intent to prevent or to provide a safe environment for safe and discreet dispensing of marijuana and marijuana products. By doing so, the applicant will have employees stationed at the entrance to the establishment to monitor and ensure compliance with the site regulations. We have a comprehensive ID verification system, which requires ID checks at least twice during the customer's retail experience. There's going to be certainly a 24-hour, 7 days a week video surveillance of the exterior and interior of the establishment. All marijuana products will be secured in the vaults during and outside of operational hours. And there'll be panic buttons at the reception and at the POS stations. This is just two more slides. This is just a photo or some photos of the locations of the existing cameras on the existing building. So this is the top left is the front of the building. On the bottom left is the back. And these are the sides on the right-hand side. And then for lighting, same sort of setup. This is the front of the building. There's two lights in the front, two in the back, and one light on each side. And again, we are working with the town, with the fire department, with the police department to conform to their concerns with respect to lighting and security, and also with the Cannabis Control Commission. So with that, that concludes our presentation, but we are certainly here to address any questions that the board and the public may have.
Okay. Did you plan on having an engineer go over the plan itself, or is there any more information you want to give the board as to your presentation regarding the inside of the facility?
We can certainly have, if the board pleases, have one of our engineers walk through the site plan, the floor plan, whatever pleases the board.
Okay, yeah, I think I would like, unless any of the board members don't agree, we'd probably like a little presentation on the site itself. We did have our review engineer review the plan, and that does need to be, some adjustments need to be made. So probably a little quick presentation. And from your engineer as to, the entranceway, additional parking. You can also refer to the May 5th Armor report if he wants to, on the comments relative to the parking areas and drainage and those items.
Joe Webby Engineering, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, this is a building that was constructed and all the infrastructure was put in several years ago. And so the drainage and the parking and the septic system and the utilities are all in place right now. Currently, there are two tenants, one on either ends of the buildings. And what Flower and Soul would like to do is a couple of items to the site plan. One of them is to create an additional lane at Plymouth Street so that they can have a right-hand turn, and then people that may be taking a left-hand turn out of there we don't get a backup queue inside the property, and then one lane coming inside. So we would like to add another lane to the west side of the existing entrance. And also, I believe we're adding an additional 9 parking spaces because we're going to try to get some angled parking in behind the building for employees that would gain us a couple of more spaces. And then we are in possession of the Amory letter, May 5th, the review letter. And other than a few punch list items that would have to go, I can go over each item with the board if they'd like. But basically, the only additional thing that the Amory is suggesting is maybe a guardrail on the east side of the building where the parking lot abuts the drainage easement. And I'm going to leave that up to the landlord and Flower and Soul, how they want to handle that. But other than that, there's some punch list things that have to be done. And but there's nothing else that's going to be done to the site itself other than the slip lanes and the additional parking.
Okay, if I may, just to point out for the members of the public in the audience that the punch list comments were parking spaces around the perimeter of the lot, the number of parking spaces listed. There was some concern about a loading area. Some additional lighting potentially is going to be required. We'll discuss that further. And then proposed squaring off of the corner of the parking lot. And the other items are septic tank covers, operation and maintenance schedule, which will need to be provided. And it appears that the tight tanks on site is not visible. Some of those items appear to be more landlord related, but we will need some assurance that these items will be corrected. And as far as the guardrail, I guess that's be a decision that the board can discuss further on. Okay, Mr. Wall, is there anything else you'd like to present to the board before I get the questions and answer?
Mr. Chairman, no, just that, we're here to work with the board and the neighborhood, as the chief wants more lighting. We're going to make sure that it's lighting, angling in the right way, that we're looking to be, a good neighbor in all ways of us making the building more aesthetically pleasing and working with everyone. So just want to reemphasize that we're here to work with everyone on this project.
Okay. If you're done with your presentation, what I'm going to do is first we'll toll the members of the board to see if they got any questions, comments, or concerns. Gordon, you're up top, so I'll start with you. Gordon,
You
need to unmute yourself. There you go.
know,
There you go.
sorry.
It's okay.
So you're proposing to widen the entrance out, and then all of the parking that you're looking to increase by, is already on pavement that's already there, is that correct? Joe Webby, no, to Mr. Chairman, no, we will be adding some pavement in the corners. It would be just in the corners? Yes. Okay. So as far as the drainage goes, we're really not going to impact that by much? No, it would be very very small, very slight. Okay. And the layout of the parking as we have it now is going to stay pretty much the same thing, but just add those few spaces, correct? That's correct. I don't have anything else right now, Alan.
Okay.
Maybe I'll come back to something.
I'll go over to Amy and then check back with her. Amy, did you have any questions or concerns?
I had the same questions. However, on the parking that is in the back where the loading area is, does that provide enough area to go through by when you add those parking spots?
Okay, so Amy, just so that we get it right, you're on page 30 of, you're looking at that plan, page 30 for the other
I'm
member?
kind of going back and forth between, and comparing between page 20 and page 30.
Okay, so which one do you want us to look at? 20 or 30? Both.
Well, I mean, either one has the parking added in the back. So I was just, when we add the parking, is there enough area to still go behind the building without, without it being tight? That's my question.
I believe Pat Brennan commented on that in his review. And he did, in fact, question whether or not the loading area would be sufficient. And I don't want to assume, Mr. Wall, but your loading area is going to be in the rear of the building?
That would be the preferred area of the loading, just so that it's outside of Route 106. And the deliveries happen, randomly per CCC guidelines, and they're delivered in like a Ford Transit van. So just, a small, van. They're not in, like FedEx delivery trucks. It's, really minimal vans. But yeah, we would have the van drive up. Could use one of our spots. You know what I mean? If we add additional spots, we could actually designate a spot as delivery so that there's a clear path still, that the van's not, prohibiting flow behind the building.
Okay, so there wouldn't be anything larger than van, wouldn't be any tractor trailers or very large
No.
van delivery trucks. Okay.
Yeah. So think about it, I think most people are using Ford Transits. There's some people that are even trying to go electric now to smaller vehicles and stuff like that. So nothing bigger than a van.
Okay. Amy, does that answer your question? Or we can actually refer that back to Pat Brennan if you got any more concerns, because he did have some concerns, but I think I can't tell by the scale, but it looks like there's about 16 to 20 feet between parking spaces in the building, which would be more than adequate for a transit van. It wouldn't be adequate for a tractor trailer.
So I only have page 1 of the Armory report, so I can't see any of the notes that Armory would have made.
Page 1.
Well, it says review and report on 1 revised documents, attendance at 2 public meetings, and attached is the breakdown of actual tasks, but I don't have the attached. I only have the letter.
Alan,
Yes.
I believe we don't have it in the packet. Is that correct? That we got it in an email today, maybe?
Joanne, you'll have to bail me out on this one.
Yeah, it's on an email.
It is on an email?
Yes.
I did get it on an email.
That's correct, because the packets were out I had put the packets out last night, so that didn't
Okay, I
come
was
through
just-
today.
Thank you.
So
I was just looking.
forwarded this to everyone. Mhm. Okay,
Do you want to double check your email and I'll get back with you?
That's what I'm doing now. Thank you.
Joanne, do you know when you sent that out? I got it as an attachment, so there's nothing on it, but I know this is one of, I believe, 2 reports that he sent out.
Because I see one from Kurt and I don't see the other one. Did that one come out today too? Both of them?
Curtains in another place. Curtains come out on the 4th. And the Flower and Soul came out on the 5th, but I thought I saw 2 for Flower and Soul. Pat, you're on, aren't you?
Oh, I have it. It's Armory report is the, hold on. No, it still doesn't have any of the Armory report is attached to it, but it's the letter and not any of his determinations.
Mr. Chairman, I am on the call. Pat Brennan, Amory Engineers.
Okay. Did you?
Alan, I think it came out today at 11:54 a.m. maybe.
Okay.
Amy, it says 894 Plymouth Street.
Pat, did you send 2 reports in or 1?
One for 894. I sent that one to you and Joanne yesterday, and I sent the one for 640 Tuesday to you and Joanne.
Okay, so there is 1 report.
I did send them, and I just put it in the chat. It's also in the chat.
So I think it's 11:54, Amy, today, AM, that if you're looking at the emails.
Okay, I am. Thank you.
Do you want to review that, Amy? And then I'll see if you
Yep.
have any more questions.
Please.
Rick, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns?
No, I got the email, I'm looking at all the comments. I had comments about the loading area will be unusable when there's cars parked there. Well, that's showing 45-degree spaces. I don't see them. Looks like they're parallel parking spaces in the back. I don't know what he means by that.
45-degree might be what he proposed,
They're proposing.
I think. Let me just see.
He said the parking spaces will be unavailable during loading, but maybe he's figuring bigger trucks out of transit vans don't take a lot of room. So anyway, that's all. That's what I'm seeing here.
Okay, I can reach out to Pat. Pat, that would be item number 3 on your report. It does say 45-degree parking spaces. You might want to just clarify that.
Yeah.
Good.
Actually, if Joanne would let me share my screen, I can bring up the plan that I reviewed. And I can just point exactly to what I was talking about with each comment.
Yep.
Oh, I have it now. Okay.
Okay. And that would be helpful if Pat goes through it with all his comments, because he'll screen share it.
Absolutely.
Or Charlie, I mean.
Yeah, I'm just, hold on here. Try and get the controls correct. There we go.
Last week's plan, when they showed all the neighborhood, they were pull-in spots in the back. So now there's been maps provided that were pull-in, that were parallel, and 45-degree.
Okay, who do I have speaking?
Pat Brennan.
A concerned citizen.
Pat's not speaking, I don't think.
No, it was somebody named Gene was speaking. But I'll go over. So I'll go through my comments real quick. With this, everybody can see this up on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the plan that I reviewed. It's a little bit different from the one that Attorney Braillard had shown. So my first comment was in relation to the parking spaces. And now, like it was mentioned, this project was originally approved back in 2016. I wasn't involved in the review at that time, so I'm not sure what kind of relief may have been granted for the site. But these 8 spaces up here and the 13 spaces over here and these 45-degree angle spaces on the back are all only 9 feet wide. These 3 here and these 3 here are the only ones that comply with the zoning bylaw, which requires 10-foot wide spaces. That was my first comment. The allocation of the space is listed in the building for each unit. There's 6 for unit 1 and unit 4, but there's only 5 of them shown for each. There's 5 shown for unit 4 right here, and 5 shown for unit 1 right here. And the rest of them are all shown for Flower and Soul. That's just an editorial thing. So the loading area, it's 16 feet wide from the building to the painted space markers. These are 20 feet in this direction. The way that the arrows in the pavement is marked, it's one-way flow around the building. If there's a van out here loading, there's no way for the cars to get around the building. No traffic cannot get around that building, and people, yeah, a van's only got to block a couple spaces, but the main concern is the flow around the building. You're not going to have that flow if a van is parked out here, especially if there's people in these, if there's people in these spaces. I think Mr. Webby had hit on, or maybe it was Mr. Wall, about additional lighting on the sides. The police chief had asked for that as well, and I agree. I think, the pavement should be lit up at night. If the building's going to be lit open after dark, all of the pavement should be illuminated. My next comment was about topography, just to check the grades. The squaring off, this is where they're adding the pavement, Gordon, or in this corner of the parking lot here. And then this is where they're widening it for the entrance. The issue over here is that there's a propane tank, buried propane tank, located right about where my mouse is, my cursor is. So there could be issues with that propane tank if they're going to square the pavement off that much. Obviously they'd have to put bollards around that tank, and I'm not sure what the laws are with buried propane tanks if you can pave over them. So that's just an issue that they're going to have to address. The existing septic tank is in this area. The covers are about 2 to 3 inches below the existing asphalt. And I was out there Wednesday afternoon after it rained. There was no water puddled in those septic tank covers, so that water's all leaking into that tank. So that septic system's getting more flow from rainfall than it should. Those covers should be raised to grade and potentially have watertight covers put on them. I did review the drainage report by Webby Engineering, and I believe most of it was from the original filing for their existing conditions scenario. So I did compare the existing conditions with the proposed conditions as shown in this layout plan, and the drainage system does work. It does mitigate flow, so there would not be any increase in runoff during any of the design storm events. But they kept on saying in all the literature that this was a bioretention basin. And again, I wasn't involved in the review back in 2016, so I'm not sure if that was supposed to be a bioretention basin. But to me, it just looks like a regular dry detention basin. Bioretention basins have a compost type mixed soil in there. And that looked to me to just be typical loam and seed. I will say it works because the basin was completely dry when I was out there after the rain. And I'll get into another issue with that in a minute. Their stormwater operation and maintenance plan specifies mowing the basin twice a year. It looks like they've been keeping up with regular mowing when they mow the other areas around it. And I would just suggest that it be mowed anytime the lawn's mowed, once the lawn is, spruced up and made to look nicer. So during my visit, there was a big puddle over in this area here. There's a puddle out front. So there's a few puddles around the building. That looked like finished pavement to me. So in the winter months, those puddles could become issues. I know it's a landlord problem and not necessarily Flower and Soul, but I was asked to review the site plan. So that's what I'm reporting on. So there could be icing issues in the winter with those puddles if they're not addressed. This tight tank down here, I did not see these covers for this tight tank. This tight tank is for floor drains in here, it needs to be pumped out on a regular basis. And if that tight tank is actually installed and the covers aren't to grade, there's no way to pump it out. So they need to address that. And then my last comment, which Mr. Webby had mentioned is, this is a drainage basin all along here. There's a change in grade from the parking lot to the bottom of the basin, about 4 feet. It's marginal. You do have a little bit of a shoulder here, but you've got cars, one-way cars coming around like this. They can very easily drive right into this basin. Similar to the cars parking this way, they can very easily drive right into that basin. So I just recommended that they consider installing a guardrail around those areas so the cars don't drive into those areas. And those were my comments on the plans, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And you want me to stop the screen share?
No, just leave it on for a second. One of the problems is the plans that we have in our package are not these plans. That's where there's confusion is. The plan that I have in my package shows some parallel parking, not 45 degree. So that will have to be changed. But I'm just going to refer back out to Webby Engineering. This could have been the most recent plan that that we haven't seen. Is this going to be the plan, Joe, that we're going to be working off of and not the plan in our package?
Joe Webby, yes, our most recent plan was dated 4/30/21.
Okay. For some reason in our package, in the package that Flower and Soul submitted, it is a different plan. And it shows employee parking parallel. It does show the widening of the road. It does show the area that the proposed new parking, but parking is different. As Pat indicated, he's got some concerns with the 45-degree parking. Was the 45-degree parking put in to get a few more spaces?
Yes, it was. Yeah, those are all employee parking also. So I think that if there is a delivery, those spaces aren't active until the employees leave or come and go.
Okay. All right. Well, let me defer back. Amy, you had some questions. Let me start again with Gordon. Gordon, based on the plan, do you see anything, any other questions that you might have or recommendations?
Just making sure I was on. Well, the fact that Pat says that the spaces are 9 by 20 or 9 by 18 or?
Some of the 45 degrees are 9 by 20. These are like 9 by 19. I believe these could be 9 by 20. There's plenty of room because the curb's way out here. So there's plenty of room to make those 9 by 20, but they're 9 feet wide.
Not 10.
Correct.
Good. And the number of spaces that we came up with is 6 for each of the end units based on, where did the figures come from for the number of spaces required, I guess is my question.
My comment related to the spaces was strictly based on what was shown on this plan. But just doing this real quick.
Because I come up with like 5 spaces needed if you do the 175 for each.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I was just basing it on this. And this is the April 30th plan that Mr. Webby referred to. So
Yeah.
this is the latest plan.
And then you had said that you don't believe that the drainage is going to need to be increased for the amount of pavement added.
No, the calculations show that even with the increase in pavement from what the pre-development was prior to this project in 2016 versus what this is, they're still reducing the rate and volume of runoff.
Okay. And then like they've been saying, is the 45 spaces, degree angled spaces in the back don't really seem to work that well. But I'm good with the questions. I think we run through it and then we'll go back and try to hammer stuff out. Thank you.
Amy, anything on this plan that's been submitted? Anything additional?
I guess I'll still stick with if there's not enough space between the building and those parking spots in the back, and then the parking spots on the side that are created aren't to the bylaw. Is there another option that we can have enough spots for all existing businesses here at 894?
Let me just say this, and this is strictly my opinion. This plan, site plan, is a modification. So the original site plan was approved with whatever it be 9 by 20 or 9 by 19 parking spaces. I don't know that they needed a special permit to construct the building through the Zoning Board of Appeals, which somebody probably should have picked up on that. So the fact that these are undersized, I don't think that's an issue for this board. I think that the new additional parking probably should meet our new requirements unless the board wants to waive that. The 45-degree stuff in the back, I guess we got to decide, do we need parking or do we worry about 1 or 2 deliveries a day? And I'm just going to reach out to Brian Wall just to ask him, how many deliveries are you getting in the course of a day or a week?
You would get roughly 1 delivery, a day, and those would be scattered, probably 1 delivery a day, each day of the week, depending on how many different manufacturers we partnered with.
Okay, so when these deliveries are made, from a security standpoint, what happens?
Yep. So under CCC guidelines, there's 2 people required to be in the van at all times. That van is monitored from the time it leaves wherever, Rev Clinics and, Hopkinton, to us. Every 30 minutes, someone communicates with that van to make sure that it's en route. And then when it would, we could allocate a spot if there were the 45 degrees, or if the board wanted us to go back to the parallel spots, we could designate a spot, for the delivery van. And then 1 individual stays in the van and 1 individual would bring in like a Tupperware box, or a bin that you have your kids' toys in. So it's, non-disclosed, you can't tell what's in the box. And then 2 Flower and Soul employees would greet the delivery person and bring them into the facility, and then the door would be immediately shut, which is obviously, locked. And every door has a camera on it, so everyone coming in and out of that would be, under surveillance. So that's the security measures outlined in the state regulations. And we would obviously work with the chief on any other, processes or policies he'd want us to implement regarding delivery.
So is it the possibility that when you're getting a delivery, I don't know how many people you're going to have in the building, is it possible for someone to come out of the building to control traffic? I understand it might be for 5 or 10 minutes once you get up and running. Initially, I don't know if the place is going to be stocked, closed. If you get all your permits, I'm sure you're going to have to bring product in. I don't know if you're going to have a lot of traffic coming around then, but again, one of the concerns is that 16 feet isn't enough. So is it possible that someone could, in fact, keep an eye on traffic just during delivery times?
100%. We could have the manager go out there and monitor the traffic and make sure it either is held up or again working with the chief whatever way he wanted us to do it, whether it was rerouted, if he wanted us to have the delivery truck situated somewhere else on the corner of the property, We would do whatever the chief wanted us and the board wanted us to do to ensure a smooth flow of traffic and a safe environment for product to move from the delivery truck into the vault.
Amy, does that help you at all? Is that,
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm just, but hold on. So the parking spots that were on the original site plan weren't to the Halifax bylaw, or is the creation of the new lots making them not abide by the bylaw? Because on the page 29, and I'm asking for clarification from Webby or Mr. Brennan, on page 29 of our packet, before they add the paving to square off, if you will, the back side there, it looks like they might be, I don't know, I'm asking, were these parking spots on the original site plan created to our bylaw?
The parking spaces that are there, and they're existing, are not in compliance with the current bylaw. I'm not sure if the bylaw has changed since 2016.
Okay.
But you require 10-foot wide spaces now, and they're not 10 feet wide, except for
Thank
the
you.
ones in front of the building, right against the building.
Thank you.
okay, anything else, Amy?
Yeah. No, not at this time.
Okay, Rick, and I'll defer to you. Did anything else you'd want to discuss on the plan that's in front of us?
No, I don't see anything more to discuss. Seems like Pat's pretty much covered everything on his comments. I've had the same concern like anybody would, like the rear of that building is a little tight
Yeah.
with the angled spaces, but I suppose it's something they can deal with.
Okay. I am going to open it up to the public. I just want to address a couple of things. I made some initial comments when I first got the plan, sent them to, I believe, Pat and to Webby's office, which was requesting some sort of a traffic count. The employee parking, I would prefer to have designated parking spaces for each unit, and then designated parking spaces for those customers that are coming in to buy, especially if you've got police officers that are going to be coming through. If there's a vehicle left overnight, to me, it would be kind of important for that officer to know that bay number one with those two cars. And I believe, or I think we can get that addressed. So having said that, I am going to, if I don't have any other questions from members of the board, I will. I'm
Just
sorry.
one more. I have,
Okay.
what year was the original site plan created?
I think Pat said 2016. That bylaw has been in effect much longer than that, so.
Okay, thank you. And then when we're widening the entrance to create the other lane, is there any issues with how wide any of those lanes will be?
No, they're all proposed to be 12 feet wide, which is more than adequate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. There's nothing else, any members of the board. I will take questions from any abutters first and any members of the audience. Only thing I do ask that you either raise your hand or whatever you do through Charlie, and then please identify yourself, your name and address for the record.
Well, and the first person who's raised their hand is Chris Winowitz.
Okay.
And just a reminder, as Al mentioned, name and address, please.
Hi, Chairman Diaz. This is Chris Winowitz from 129 Circuit Street.
Yes.
I got multiple questions. Do you want to do one by one, or?
I think we would probably be better off one by one, so we don't have to.
Okay.
All these questions are relative to the site plan. This is a multiple stage process. The site plan strictly takes the existing conditions that are on the ground, or if they're going to be building something, and it's got to comply to our general bylaws, with traffic flow, drainage, controlling traffic water, residential privacy, functionality. So as long as we can keep those questions to that, I'm fine with that, and we can address anything else after that. So go ahead, Chris.
My first question, you mentioned additional lighting. There's already a problem that the board had voted to have the building change the rear lighting because it's shining on the houses, which still hasn't happened. So I'm a little concerned that there'll be even now additional lighting and where that will be facing.
Okay, what I'm going to suggest to you, Chris, and I'm going to reach out to probably the engineer on this. Lighting was one of my concerns, and I know there's some lighting on the buildings, and I'm not sure that that lighting that's currently on the building can be directed more towards the paved area, but it appears to me, and I've gone by there in the dark, that there should be some additional lighting beyond the parking areas that would shine directly on the building or just hang down for lighting. Those are my thoughts, but I'm going to reach out to whoever wants to answer that question, whether it be Mr. Webby or Mr. Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We got that feedback. We're in the process of hiring an an engineering firm to do the lighting, to come back with a proposal of how we can meet the chief's requirements for lighting and not affect the neighborhood. One of the things that I can do, Mr. Chairman, is reach out to Paul Reed and ask him if he has the deflectors on the rear lighting. I know on the Circuit Street side, he did not, and I had Mr. Reed add the deflector, so it reduced the lighting. I'm happy to ask Mr. Reed if those are on the back lighting. If they're not, if he'll please add them on, because I know he has them. But we are engaging a firm to work with the chief and the board on lighting and also ensure that the neighborhood is not affected by any added lighting.
Okay, I'm just going to ask Chris. Chris, have those deflectors been added? You would know firsthand.
No, only one. When the building was first built, they added a deflector to the one facing Morgan's, which kind of seemed useless since it wasn't facing any of the houses. But none of the other lights had a deflector, and that's when we brought it up. Since then, I think within the last month, one of the neighbors said, like he just said, facing Circuit Street, they put one up there. So now that one has a deflector, but none of the rear lights have a deflector.
Okay. Mr. Wall, I kind of suggest that on that lighting for the rear portion, at least some sort of, I'm sure they're going to be LEDs with some sort of soft, there's some soft lighting that you might want to consider for that. But I think what we would do is when you get that report, we'll have Pat Brennan review that to make sure that there's no additional impact on Circuit Street, Mr. Winowitz. Chris, you have another question?
Yeah, my other question has to do with all these change in parking plans. I think as now we've brought up, it appears a lot of them might not be the bylaw. I don't know if anyone's actually looked out back, but it is pretty tight out there. I know another neighbor had mentioned, if you're looking at the plan, the very left bottom one that they're going to add by adding more pavement, there almost seems no room, like that parking space is functional, because if you try to even back a truck or a vehicle out, you'd be hitting those angled ones, or the plans that we have, they were straight across. There's no dimensions there. So it just all seems kind of tight, like they're trying to pack all these spaces in just so they can show a number that they have.
Okay,
My other concern is, do they actually have enough by the bylaws for the other units that require 4 to 5 parking spots, then additional for employees?
Okay, I'm just going to answer the first portion. I'm going to defer some of it to Pat Brennan. Based on Gordon's comments, the amount of square footage for the 2 in units, I believe, required 10 spaces. And I think they've provided the 10 spaces for that. And Pat, I'm going to just defer the turning radius. And the reason being is we have 2 different sets of plans. I don't have the plan that was shown. So does there appear to be enough area for turning radius? You've got an existing, looks like an existing catch basin. You've got that angle space. In that triangular spot, is that going to be some sort of a curbing spot, or is that going to be an open spot? That, Pat, you probably can't answer, but maybe Webby can, just to find out how much room you have to exit that particular lowest parking area.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go grab a scale.
Okay. Pat, does it appear to be enough room? I know that backing up, you need somewhere around 18 to 20 feet.
Yeah, this appears, this, and the one that Mr. Winowitz was talking about, I believe, is this space here.
Mhm.
And I see his concern, because somebody with the one-way flow around the building, somebody backing out of here is going to have to back up a little bit further and go this way. But there's the same space from the end of this space to this parking space as there is from the end of these spaces to the building. And it looks to be pretty close to 22, 24 feet.
Okay. So I think what you're saying is all the spaces are going to be the same as far as coming in and out.
Right.
They're all going to be tough. Does your plan, does that show that triangle place near the existing catch basin to be some sort of curbed area, or is it just going to be an open area and just marked?
This here, it's still, I assume it's just going to be continue with the Cape Cod berm that they have around the existing lot.
Okay.
And then just the additional 3 marked spaces.
Okay. Do you see where the existing catch basin is?
This one.
Yeah, you got that triangular spot?
Yep.
Is that going to be an open space just with white lines, or is it going to be, it doesn't appear to be a curbed area, because it appears that the curbing continues on beyond that.
Right. I believe it's just going to be either painted, it's just going to be a painted triangle and, maybe striped.
Okay. And that would probably be the preference, am I correct?
Yes.
Painted and striped versus any sort of angular granite or Cape Cod berm?
Yeah, especially for plowing, maintenance, that type of thing.
Okay. Mr. Webby was going to go out to get a scale ruler, but I think, Pat, you've answered that question, I think. Chris, you had a 2-part question. One was this. What was the other part of it?
Well, actually, Pat Brennan just brought up a good point. No matter how you do those angled spaces, when you back out of that, now this vehicle would have to go against the flow of traffic, I think he was mentioning. And especially in the original plan that we saw where they weren't angled, right where that catch basin is, that would be the front bumper of another car. You would have to back out an angle, and now you're going the wrong way.
No, I don't see that on. Are you looking at the plan on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so if you pulled in, let me see, from Route 106 and came to the left of the building where the arrow is, and if you pulled into that first parking space or second parking space, you'd pull in, you'd back out, you'd be going obviously against traffic, but that happens no matter where you park.
No, I'm talking about that bottom left-hand one, the one that's in the shaded corner where they add in the pavement.
Yeah, okay.
That's the one where he just said too that it might be kind of funny getting out of there than not being in the right direction.
Yeah, what he's saying is, if you follow my mouse,
Mhm.
backing out of this, you back up like this to go like this.
Okay.
So it'd be this type of a maneuver. But it's similar to this. It's just you're backing up a little bit further from this one than you are from this one.
Pat, based on your experience, is that inconsistent with engineering standards? I mean, I understand Chris's position, and I don't know who's designated that place, that parking area, if that's going to be a Flower and Soul or it's going to be a Bay Unit 1 or Unit 4. That hasn't been determined. But based on your experience, does that lower area, parking area seem to be a problem?
I think it would be better if that was one of their employee spaces, because there wouldn't be constant people going in and out. I think it would really reduce the amount of traffic going in and out of that particular space. It's not ideal the way it's set up, but it'll work. But like I said, if you make that an employee space, I think that makes it takes away a lot of Mr. Winowitz's concern with how that operates.
Okay. Can you please note that, either Mr. Webby or Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Chris, was there something else?
The other thing is on the traffic, pulling in and out of here. The slides that I saw quickly, to me, it looks like they were kind of cherry picking the data out of the Old Colony Planning Council, the Route 106 corridor study. The way they were presenting the figures was showing.
Chris, I think we lost you. You can hear us. Chris, can you hear us, Chris?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you start over again? You ended up with cherry picking the data.
Sorry, this isn't supported.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay.
The data they were talking about looked like they were showing like 200 something vehicles. And it's not going to be a big increase to the traffic, but I think they were trying to just mix that into the east and west traffic.
Okay, we lost part of you. Are you talking about the 240 customers per day? That
Yes.
Traffic count? Okay, go ahead.
But what the traffic study talks a lot about in different paragraphs is the coming from side streets like Pine Street or driveways where it's high concern in that area in accidents. And let me read some of it. It says Halifax has 3 intersections which are all unsignaled that experience failed levels of service. These include Plymouth Street 106 at Pine Street intersections, which experience an LOS of an E during the afternoon peak hours. Plymouth Street Route 106 at Old Plymouth Street Eastern intersection, which experiences an LOS of an E during the afternoon peak hour. And the Plymouth Street Route 106 at Carver Street intersection, which experience an LOS of an F. This is going to be just like those streets that this talks about. And there's other sections in here where you have driveways trying to enter onto those sections of 106 where there's no gaps in traffic. And actually where this building is, it's even worse. In this study, it shows even has a higher rate of average speed. So east and west is an LOS of an A because everywhere there, it's unimpeded, cars going down 106. But now you go have this high volume of traffic coming out of this building, just like at these intersections that are nearby. It looks like it's going to be a nightmare with traffic. And I think on their chart, they showed about 8,000 vehicles a day. For this section of 106, where it says west of 105 going to East Bridgewater, is showing almost 14,000 vehicles a day in the Plymouth County report. So there seems a discrepancy there.
Maybe I can just answer the portion of discrepancy. There was some mention from the attorney that these numbers were changed due to the fact that it was the count was a 24-hour count and they were using a 12 count. Because it's my impression that 106 has got about a 12,000 car per day traffic count. But I think they used 9 to 8. I think that's what the attorney said. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong.
So I just feel that they're leaving a lot of this bad stuff out that's out of the report to make it seem like there's not going to be much issue with traffic. When if you actually read the Plymouth County report, it brings up a lot of these issues. And actually another neighbor next to me pointed out that unlike all the other sections right nearby on 106, they have a no passing lane. Right in front of this building is almost a 50-mile-an-hour average speed with a passing lane. And pulling out of Circuit Street right next door, sometimes you look left or right, you go to pull out and there's a car in the opposite lane that's passing cars on 106.
Okay.
So this seems like a real bad entrance area for this building to have a business like this with that volume of cars coming in and out.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
is there a reason that there's no listing of where 105 hits 106? Because that's always a wait too. And I'm just saying, like, I didn't see the 106 at Carver Street in these, but when I heard him say that, when I heard Mr. Winterick say that, I started thinking, well, where is 105 where it hits 106? And that causes a lot of traffic back up as well.
I believe it is in the report somewhere. I just didn't highlight that one.
Okay,
So
I'm looking for it, that's all.
I think 105 is at least 2 miles east.
Okay, well, that's the reason it's not there then.
Right, I would guess. I
That's
mean, I reviewed
kind
the
of what I
track.
was wondering. Okay.
Okay, Chris, you want to continue on? And we're duly note your concerns on the traffic.
Well, yeah, that's my concerns in that, and they have nothing in here on how to control that traffic when it all backs up and cars trying to pull out. Because the report says because there's no brakes, there's no lights anywhere nearby, it's a continuous stream at high speed on 106, which forces drivers trying to enter 106 to make hasty turns and dangerous turns to try to enter any open breaks that they can see onto 106.
I believe in my request on the traffic count was relative to what you're saying, Chris. And I think one of the responses were, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wall or the attorney, you're going to have appointments. Am I correct?
We're gonna have a combination of appointments, curbside and walk up. So there'll be multiple ways for people to come in. It won't be 100% appointment. It'll be some combination of all that, of all those methods to come in and at our peak time, we think at most we'll have roughly, I think we say something like 45 cars over, an hour period. That 240 cars is divided over, right, 12 hours. So at no point are we going to have, 100 cars trying to come in and out over a short period of time. At some points during the day, we think we might have 7 visitors. So, the number in total might sound large, but when it's divided over 12 hours, it's not, there's no period of time when we're expecting an overabundance of people. And Mr. Chairman, this is just off key minute, but I just want to let you know that Paul Reed will be putting those deflectors on this weekend. And if they're not, will someone please reach out to me on that email and I'll make it happen. But he just told me he'll put them on this weekend.
Just to address Chris's concerns on the traffic count, and I understand at 240 a day, what can we expect from your 10 to 5? I don't expect that the morning traffic is going to be an issue. It's going to be that 10 to 5 where I think Chris is correct. I mean, people are flying up and down there. What can the people expect to have for numbers of cars coming into this place and exiting?
Yeah, so from 9 to 12, we were estimated that the average number of visitors will be roughly 47 between those time periods. And then our biggest time will be between 12 and 4 when people are, going out for lunch and they decide they're going to swing by the dispensary, and grab something for that night or for the weekend. So our biggest, we estimated between 12 and 4, about 102 of the 240 cars. And then between 4 and 8, we think it'll be about 91. So that's how we broke it up into 4-hour slots. If the board requires, we can get, more granular, which I think we did. Mr. Chairman provided it, but in our presentation tonight, we summarized it in 4-hour blocks. But at 11 o'clock, we said, I think 24 cars, same at like 12 o'clock. And then around 4, we're thinking that we'll have 31 cars between 4 and 5 o'clock.
Okay. Chris, if you don't mind, I want to ask you a question. I mean, you live there. What do you see for the peak traffic time? We can look at all the reports in the world. They use counters, but you live there. You've been out there for a number of years.
I don't know the exact hours, but it would be the general commuting hours, morning and early evening, late afternoon. So 7, 8, 6, and then 4 o'clock on.
Okay.
And one other thing, after what he just said, what I've noticed, I'm not sure where they're getting these numbers from, but I've sat in front of some of the other ones, and he says the peak would be before 4 o'clock, but that's when people are still at work. What I've seen at these other dispensaries, it's people coming home at the high commuter hour, on their way home from work. So 4, 5. So right with the height of 106 would be people coming home, because you've seen all the traffic comes off Route 24 through the 106 corridor, all the way through. And then now people will be pulling in here at the height of everyone heading home on their way home from work. So I'm not sure where their hours are coming from for the heights of traffic.
And Mr. Wall, I'm going to ask you that I think probably your hours are just based on numbers. You're just taking the data you got from Old Colony Planning Council and you're just doing the numbers. That's probably correct?
So our numbers come from industry, from other dispensary owners that we've gotten their data from their internal systems that we've said, over the last 6 or 12 months, can you let us know, where your sales volumes have. My consultant, Brendan McKee, obviously has 2 dispensaries, so we're able to pull, data from him. So that's how we came up with the allocation of our 240 site visits, is looking at, data from other dispensary owners. And every dispensary is going to be different, right? I mean, depending on where you're located, et cetera. So, but that's how we allocate our numbers, Mr. Chairman, was from industry sources.
Okay. Chris,
Find that data for everyone to see.
wait a minute, hold on. Charlie, I had no idea who, somebody said something.
I think that was Joe, maybe.
Joe Webby?
Yeah.
Joe, did you say something?
No,
That was Gene. Gene is saying, provide that data for everyone to see.
Okay, just hold on. Whoever Gene is, I'll give you the next opportunity. Just try not to break in. Chris, was there any other questions you might have?
No, that's it for now. I just want to point out, I think there's a major concern with what this traffic could be with the site plan, with the cars entering and leaving. And they haven't really provided any detail of how that's going to be curbed. Which our concern is if anything backs up in front of the store, all around here will be turned into cut-through neighborhoods
Okay.
to bypass any traffic there. And one thing, when I discussed with the police chief, there's not really, this location doesn't really compare to a lot of other ones around here, because they're set back in way industrial parks where traffic gets filtered off the main roads when you get in there. This is a very different location where it's on a main, just 2-lane road with nowhere to go around it, no side roads, except going through neighborhoods.
Okay, well, we'll take that into consideration. If you're all set, Chris, I'm just going to reach out. Are there any other abutters? There's a very extensive abutters list. Any other abutters want to be heard? Hearing none. Are there any members of the public that want to be heard?
I'm in a butter. I just couldn't find the hand to raise.
Okay, you're coming up as Gene. Can you identify your name and address for the record, sir?
My name is Gene, 110 Circuit Street,
Your last name, Gene?
Lisinski.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, I want to make sure everyone understands what Chris was saying. This neighborhood is going to see an increase of traffic because of people backing up and taking the shortcut through Circuit Street. The pot shop is saying that they have information based on other pot shops. Well, I think that's kind of one-sided. I don't think that's an official official numbers, I guess, what I want to say. And I hope the board doesn't really believe what they're saying because they all have the same interest. And if it's the other thing I wanted to bring up, if it's like what they say, like 45 cars in an hour, and there's, 10 parking spots for this place? inside that tiny lot. 45 cars shuffling in and out of 10 parking spots. Is it 10 or 11?
No, 10 is for the additional units. Just bear with me. Joe can probably be the only on this one. There was, how many total spots you're creating 3 or 4. You're going to minus the employee parking, and how many spots are you going to have for actual visitors?
30.
That is based on the town bylaws, right? Not the 9 feet that I think is drawn in the plan, but by increasing it to like, what, the 10 feet, don't they lose some spots?
Yeah, I believe increasing it to 10 feet is not an option. I mean, this is a modification of the site plan. For some reason, whether they got a special permit for 9 feet or it was overlooked, I don't think that the planning board has any obligation nor right to try to reconfigure that parking area. But I just want to get an answer for you. What did we have for total spaces, Joe, relative to?
There's 35 total spaces on the plan that's dated April 30th.
Mhm.
6 of those are designated as employee. I think Pat just added another one, so that would be 7. And then 10 are dedicated to the other 2 units. So that's 25 spaces for Flower and Soul, and 7 of those would be for employees. I don't know how many employees they have at one time.
Okay, well, if they're looking for 6 employee spaces, you could utilize one of those employee spaces. He can put an employee space where Pat had indicated is going to be the tight turning area. So you don't.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you're still going to have 6. So we're going to have 25. Is that what the number is?
25 total, that's correct, for Flower and Soul.
Okay, so Gene,
So 25 minus 7
no,
Minus 6.
minus 6. Okay, so 19. And 45 cars pulling in and out in 1 hour. Don't you think that's huge traffic in that tiny little parking lot?
I mean, this is Chris Winowitz again from 129 Circuit.
Oh, Chris, hold on a second. Let's get finished with Gene and then I'll recognize you.
I yield the floor to Mr. Winowitz.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
I believe when we did the community meeting, I'm trying to find it now in the records, but I brought up a figure where they were saying it could be 7 people per 10-minute period, and it came up to like way more than 240, and they kind of admitted that it could be that amount of people, but they think it might be down around 240. So they kind of admitted that it could even be a lot more people than what they're expecting. Like Gene just said, 45 cars in a 1 hour, you get some more cars, you're almost starting to look at 1 car a minute pulling out into 106 for all those other concerns I said. Because these other places, like they said, they'll bring it out, you order it, you pull in, order's all ready, they get it, and out goes the car. Constant stream of cars in and out, which will just add to all those other points I said about the dangerous area 106 there.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Amy.
So let's say that, because we're not sure, right, whether or not in 2015, I think the date was, where's that note I have, that they got the site plan approved. We don't know if they had the right to make smaller parking spots, but it was agreed upon. But should we, as a planning board, be allowing the increase of that without it being in compliance with our bylaw? That's where I think the question would have to lie, because if we're adding, how many spaces? 7? Is that the total that we're adding? And they're going to be still not to our bylaw, and is that something we should be allowing them to do without complying, where we have all of these really good concerns about traffic in the parking lot, never mind outside of it.
I would probably agree, Amy, that the newer parking spaces should be compliant. I think the older parking spaces were approved, and I don't know how or when. And I don't, Mr. Webby, is the new spaces, because we don't have an actual plan, new spaces compliant with,
I will have to check that, Alan.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. But
Okay.
And it's increasing a use.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the 45-degree angle spaces behind the building are compliant. The 3 that they were adding to the corner were still 9 feet, but it appears that there's probably enough room to make those 3 10 feet wide. So I think they could make the 9 additional compliant.
okay, okay.
But where's the proof that the,
Hold on, who's speaking?
Gene again,
Okay,
Chris was done, so I took the floor back.
yeah.
So who's to say that the existing spots are not out of compliance? You say you don't know. Just because somebody goes and paints some white lines in a parking lot, you're gonna say, oh, that must be okay because it's old? Where is the due diligence on what's there? Maybe right now it's illegal and we're just gonna overlook that?
No. I think that we should do our
Probably
research.
probably just to answer your question, we have somewhat of an engineered drawing that shows the spaces and the width of those spaces. And we had a review engineer that made an on-site visit, and I'm sure he looked at that.
So isn't
I
it
don't know
confirmed
that
it's
this
not
board,
inspected?
yeah, okay, just hold on, I've got the floor, I don't know who's interrupting. I don't know this board has the authority, and I can reach out to find out just how much authority we have, but I think based on my interpretation of the site plan approval process, that's not something that we can recognize here. I don't have a problem if the board so concurs to reach out to see if we have some non-compliant spaces. With a modification, do we have to bring them into compliance? Common sense tells me no, but if the board so is inclined, I mean, I can reach out to council. This matter is going to be continued because of the plans. So if the board so concurs, I can ask that question.
I would like that question asked, but I'd also like to see the research of when the site plan was originally approved to see what it was approved stipulating and what and exactly, was there a special permit? Was there a variance that was given back in the day that allowed that? And I think that in 16728, it states that, I don't know if this is, but a site plan, we're supposed to look at parking and increasing a use such as parking or any part of this is part of our purview. So we can't, even if they got a special permit, it would be thought of as you can't increase that without a variance. That would be my thought process.
Okay, I'm doing
Alan,
note of that,
Alan, if I may.
and I will reach out to council. Go ahead, Gordon. Gordon, yeah, I think you were on.
Have we pulled up the site plan that we have on file?
I did look at the site plan on file, and I believe that Webby Engineering basically took that existing conditions plan, which is page, I don't know which page it is in yours. We have page 2 of 3 sheets shows an existing condition plans, and let me see if that's in our package.
It just makes sense to, I mean, you're gonna continue this.
Correct.
To go into the file and pull it out and let's compare it.
Yeah, this plan, it's on page 29 of our package, folks. I don't know if anybody's got the ability to share page 29 or,
I can, Mr. Chairman.
okay,
At least the one that I have, I think it's,
yeah, site plan, wait a minute.
is it this one?
Yeah,
Yes, that should have been, that's an existing conditions plan.
Correct.
So I can only assume, and Mr. Webby can verify, that he took this from the original plan that was approved by the planning board. I don't know if it was 2014 or 2016. Is that correct, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the existing conditions. And then our new set of plans will show any proposed conditions. So if those parking spaces were the 9 by 19, and Pat, I don't know that you measured them or we just scaled them on the plan.
I scaled them off the plan, but if the pavement is as shown on this plan, you can only fit the 9-foot wide spaces
Okay,
out here for those 8, and the similar situation for over here.
okay. So I will reach out to council to try to get an opinion as to whether or not with a site plan modification, if we do have some existing conditions that are non-compliant, what ability do we have to bring them into compliance?
Alan,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
if we're modifying the plan, we can modify it to fit what we need. I mean, we're adapting this for new use, so that could be part of the condition.
Okay. Is
If
there,
you took out one of those spaces, then the 10-foot spaces work,
okay.
you know, and then they're adding more spaces. So basically, no, you couldn't add 2 there. Maybe you can add 1 and you make the others 10. I don't know, but until we have the plan in front of us, I mean, looking at the little plans is really difficult. So my suggestion would be we finish this up, we continue it, and then we take a look at the full-size scale plans, and then we can make decisions based on that.
Okay. We are going to have to continue because we have different plans. So
Yeah.
I did expect that we're going to have a continuance. So, Mr. Webby, we can, I will reach out to council to find out what legally we can do. The other question is you might want to sit down with a client to see what needs to be done if those parking spaces can be brought into compliance.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to continue.
Hold on. I won't take any motions now because we've talked to Chris, we've talked to Gene. Are there any other, I think I asked for abutters first. Are there any other concerned citizens that want to speak, or anybody that wants to speak on this matter? Charlie, I don't know how they raise
I
their
have no
hand.
hands. I have no comments as far as I know from anybody.
Okay.
Could I say just very briefly a comment?
Hold on. Okay, I'll recognize you as long as you tell me who you are.
Yeah, but I don't see a thing to raise the hand. That's why I didn't raise my hand. I'm a teacher. My name is Teresa O'Laughlin. I live at 90 Circuit Street.
Okay, go ahead.
So all I want to do is I basically want to buttress what Chris and Jean have said in terms of the volume of traffic trying to get out onto 106. I leave for school at 6:30 in the morning. And sometimes I have to wait literally, a minute or more. When I left, this year I have to be at school earlier. When I left 15 minutes later last year, sometimes I'd literally be waiting. I'm talking about 6:40, 6:45 in the morning. I'd be waiting 2 minutes just to get out onto 106. And we're talking about a time, when the traffic shouldn't be quite as heavy as it would be, a couple of hours later. So I just would, again, I'm reiterating, but I absolutely have seen that firsthand. And sometimes it is really scary trying to take a left back into Circuit Street. If I'm coming from the other direction, just the volume. And again, Pine Street 105 is not, by the way, 2 miles from Circuit Street. It's closer than that. And I've gone down Pine as well, trying to get off of there, try to help people cross over, and it's very scary. So please don't minimize that concern. And obviously, living on Circuit Street, I am concerned for the neighborhood, because it is a neighborhood. And I did ask at the last meeting, the community meeting, which thank you to my neighbor who actually called it to our attention, because I think that public notice law needs to change at the state level. You know, it is going to impact very negatively. I think an industrial park that is off of 106 would actually be far more of an appropriate setting. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other concerned citizens? Okay. Mr. Wall and Joe.
Alan, it's Chris Winowitz. Could I add one more thing?
Go ahead, Chris.
On top of what she just said, it's just not Circuit Street too with the traffic.
Mhm.
This is going to impact everywhere because GPS, when you come down Elm Street, goes tell you Old Plymouth Street, Furnace Street to get to this section of 106.
Mhm.
Cars coming from 58 and Plimpton, they go down Franklin Street where there's plenty of concerned citizens already with the traffic increase, all to come to this section of 106 in front of this store. And like I said, they still have no plan that if they have this volume of traffic coming in and out of 106, what's going to control it? And that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Wall, and I think your attorney's on, Mr. Braylard. You've heard the concerns that the abutters have relative to traffic and the number of visits. We are going to have to continue the matter because we need to have a plan and we need to get some questions answered. I don't know that you'd want to address any of those concerns now, or you want to address them at a continued hearing. I think the concerns are legitimate. I know that we're using just numbers from the Old Colony Planning Council, and I think in all traffic studies, you just basically use the numbers and apply it accordingly. Did either one of you want to address any of these concerns tonight, or do you want to get together with your people to see if we can satisfy everybody's concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we will defer to come back to you on the continuance with, we've heard the message loud and clear. We'll come back with a definitive plan for the board and for the neighborhoods, how to, hopefully appease their concerns. As I said, we want to be a good neighbor. So we would like to defer any comments on the public comments until the continuance.
Okay. And you're okay with that, Attorney Flood?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to say the same thing. We've put our presentation in front of the board. I think so. We've gotten that. We've gotten through that piece. We've heard from the concerned citizens. We know the concerns. And as I was listening, I took a number of notes and already started communication to our team. So I think we will be able to address all those concerns. I have a question to the board in connection with process for whenever this meeting would be continued to, which we would request it to be continued to the 20th, if there is availability then.
Okay, yeah, I think we are going to continue to the 20th. I just want to make sure that whatever you do for traffic study and all that stuff, please get it to us early enough. I would like to have our police chief review that. He was on earlier, but he's, the tape would be available. He's more familiar with the speeds on 106 in that particular area. I do understand it's wide open, so there's no visibility issues, but usually when there's no visibility issues is when traffic increases. So having heard no other interest, what I'm going to be looking for is for a motion to continue this until our May 26th meeting. And
Alan, I'll make that motion. Can we ask Joanne what time we have available first?
I have a time available.
Okay, what is it?
Finish, yeah. What I'd like to do is Flower and Soul has a 7:05 for their special permit.
Okay.
I'm going to ask the board that we continue this matter till 7:10 on May 26th. We will open that hearing and then we will recess and then we will finish our site plan because our site plan should be done prior to any special permit.
Do you mean May 20th, Alan? It's a
I don't have a
Thursday.
calendar.
Yeah, it's May
Is-
20th. The 26th would have been a Board of Health meeting, I think, but the 20th on a Thursday is the third Thursday in this month.
Joanne, does that work? I thought we had talked about the
Yes.
26th.
We do, it's the 20th, and
It's
yes,
the 20th. Okay, so I'm
And
looking
that's
for a
the time I
motion to continue this to May 20th at 7:10 PM.
I'll make a motion to continue the notice of public hearing for Flower and Soul at 894 Plymouth Street. Do I have to read the whole thing?
No.
Okay.
No, just make-
Till May 20th at 7:10 PM.
have a second?
Second,
Okay,
second.
we have a second. It doesn't look like there's any discussion. I'm gonna go to a roll call. Gordon,
Yes,
Amy,
Yes.
Rick, are you still there?
Yes.
Yes, and Alan, yes. Okay, so this matter is going to be continued until 7:10. I'm gonna, again, Mr. Wall and Mr. Webby, please get us the information as soon as you can so we can review it. And please make sure that everybody has the correct parking plan. And I will reach out to council within the next day or two. And whatever his opinion is, I will share that with the board and I will share that with the applicant if there needs to be any changes in any parking. Okay, so this particular matter is concluded. It's 8:47. We've been at it. Does anybody want to take a break or you want to go into our next hearing?
Go.
Everybody okay to go into our next hearing?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Attorney Ballard and Mr. Wall.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris and Jean.
Chairman and all board members and citizens of Halifax. Thank you very much for your feedback.
Thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda, and sorry, Mr. Curtin, but we're running a little bit behind, is we into the continuation. No, this is the original site plan. Am I correct?
No. Yes.
Well, I know. Joe, is this our first hearing on the site plan?
Yes, I believe it was scheduled for a couple of weeks ago, but I think there was some notification issues.
Okay, so we did open this one and we continued it.
I believe that
This
was
is
it.
the one we opened and continued.
Yep.
Okay. Other members, is that correct? Okay, I think,
I remember that, yeah.
yes, okay. So, we're gonna reopen the hearing for Curtin Brothers. This is for an underground, above ground storage permit for 50,000 gallons. I don't have the hearing notice. I
I'll
do.
get it.
I do want to mention that I did send some comments, it's not dated, comments regarding the specifications on the concrete containment area, location of existing tanks, any fire prevention management plan, any high water alarms and systems, security systems. And one question I did have was based on one of our new bylaws on stormwater management, the MS4, a disturbance area to see if it met that threshold. I believe that most of those comments were addressed in the plan. I am going to now defer it to our applicant and his representative. So, Mr. Curtin, you have the floor. Are you muted? Let me see. Somebody needs to tell him unmute him, or Charlie, can you unmute him?
I got it. You hear
Okay,
me?
yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting used to this.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Before we start,
Yes,
I'd like to recuse myself as I'm an abutter to Mr. Curtin.
okay, duly noted. Joanne will record that. Mr.
Okay.
Curtin, can you identify yourself for the record?
Anthony Curtin, 640 Plymouth Street.
Go ahead, sir.
I am here to apply for an above-ground storage permit for the use of storing and loading my trucks, heating oil and diesel fuel.
Okay, this was a continued hearing, Mr. Curtin, and I think what the board was looking for was what you were actually doing, and then we do need some information. Charlie, I don't know.
I'm not sure who it is either right now. I'll keep an eye out.
Okay. So your initial presentation is for the increase or the storage of approximately 30,000, or is it 50,000?
I have a 50,000 gallon underground storage permit, so I was trying to keep what I have and just move it to above ground.
Okay. And one of the requests that I had made, and we'll go through on the board, was your fire management system and some sort of an idea on what and how this structure is going to be built and the protections for the environment in the neighborhood. So do you want to?
I refer to Bob Coluccio. He's the engineer from Webb Engineering, and he's in charge of everything that's inside of the vault.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll talk with Mr. Coluccio first, and then we'll just defer on some of the questions on the site plan relative to disturbance areas and any increased drainage issues. So
That would be addressed to
Mr.
Mr.
Coluccio,
Webb.
is it?
Yes,
Go ahead.
so the tanks are going to be horizontal so that they're they're not high profile. They'll be contained inside of a steel reinforced concrete containment dike. And the containment dike will be sized to contain the largest tank plus a 100-year storm. The where he's going to load his trucks and fill the tanks will be on a concrete drive mat, and that drive mat will slope into the containment dike so that any kind of spills that might happen during that process will be contained inside the containment dike. The loading area will be covered by a canopy so that that will protect that area from rainwater contacting any of the loading equipment and keep the driver safe. Keep stormwater from falling on surfaces that might have seen oil. The tanks are going to have high level alarms that will give them an alarm when they're at a predetermined capacity. And also while he's filling the tanks, those alarms will also shut off the tanks, the pumps that will be filling those tanks. The facility will be thoroughly vetted by the state fire marshal. And at the conclusion, after we've gotten the state fire marshal's approval on the design of the plans, then we'll write a federally required spill prevention plan that will address the oil pollution regulations associated with the Code of Federal Regulations. And that's where that's where we button up everything to make sure that we've accounted for everything that might any loose ends.
Okay. Is it possible for you to share, if you have any of the plans that are available to the members or the public, actually where the containment area is? I don't know if Mr. Webby has them or if you have them or if anybody has them. We do have a site plan. I don't know if they're available to be shared.
I could probably make it happen, but I do.
Let me see.
I have it as well.
Okay.
Okay, Pat? Okay.
Yep, I can do it.
If you don't mind. Someone can take the floor, whether it be Mr. Coluccio or Joe Webby, and just kind of explain to the board the existing conditions and then the proposed project.
Is muted.
Somebody muted? I have no idea.
Oops, sorry, Joe Webby.
Yeah.
Yeah, the containment dike will be placed in the southeast corner of the property, which will be 31 feet from the side lot line and 41 feet from the rear. It will be all inside the commercial business district, and any other impervious surfaces will be that's the purpose of the containment dike. So as Bob had explained to you, that as water builds up in that dike, then from rainwater, then if it gets to be too much, then it would just be pumped out. And so any rainwater that would be going into the dike is already accounted for, that goes into the existing drainage basin. So I don't see any additional surface area that would require any additional drainage. And I guess that's it from me.
Okay. Mr. Cluccio, I know you did provide some, I'm getting an echo here somehow. I know you did provide some pictures. I don't know if those pictures are available. I don't know that maybe Joanne could get them, or if you have them. It just showed just some pictures of a typical type of system that you're going to put in. Any idea?
So would I request, I have the photos, I can go through them and show you what some facilities look like.
Yes, if you don't mind for the.
I've never done this, so do I click the share screen icon?
You've got to ask Charlie.
Yeah, go ahead. You're able to.
Okay, let me, okay, so. Everybody see something that I'm doing now?
Okay, you're going a little fast, but okay.
Okay, no, what I did was I went to the first picture, that's all.
Okay.
So what we see here is a facility. These are vertical tanks, but the tanks that will be installed at Curtains will be horizontal. That's really the only difference, because the facility will look substantially like this. As you can see, it's got the canopy over top of it, protects stormwater from mingling with our loading rack equipment. This truck, you see, this is where the truck parks, and you can see that it's pitched. And if there was if they had any kind of a spill by SBCC regulations, we're required to contain the volume of the largest truck that would fill here, and this would drain into the dike. You can see this is the containment dike here. And I'll just skip down a picture here. This is another facility of the same design, showing a horizontal tank. Now, this tank is very old. That's why you see it's riveted. But the tanks that will be installed at Curtains will be new. You can see that, again, you see the canopy up here. You see the loading rack underneath it. You see, this is inside the dike. You can see the equipment is all inside there. In this particular case, this is ice, but we've pitched the dike so that, it could be, they can inspect the water. You're not allowed to pump it out if it has any kind of a sheen. You have to call a hazardous waste contractor to take it away. Here's another view. You can see that it keeps the equipment. The equipment stays pretty clean. We have all flanged joints, all welded or flanged, and they're very secure. So there's like almost no threaded equipment. Threads are typically the problem with pipes that leak. This particular dike is sized to contain a 25-year storm. We're going to design ours to contain 100. Not that that's a significant difference, but you can see that the tanks are on pedestals. These are concrete pedestals. Tanks sit well dry out, outside of any water accumulation. Just another view of tanks on a pedestal with our equipment. There's, the equipment will look a little bit like this. There might be a little bit more equipment in this one because of there's a, we can see better in this view how the spill. This is the drive mat right here, where my mouse is, and you can see that we have a sidewalk that our loading rack is on that sidewalk, if there was any kind of a spill, it flows into the dike. And here's another view of that. And then that I just some kind of an alarm that would enunciate when if somebody filled the tanks, overfill the tanks. Not by overfill we mean go within like 90 to 95%. So if anybody wants to ask any questions about any of these pictures, I can, or I can stop sharing.
Let me just check with any members of the board if they've got any questions relative to these pictures at this point. Charlie, you don't see any indication?
Not for the board, no.
Okay. All right. Mr. Coluccio, are you all set?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. My question to the board is, we did have Amory review this, so I can either go to questions from the board or we can go over Pat's review, whichever you prefer. Anybody have any? Pat, what we'll do is we'll go over his review. He did a background analysis. He reviewed the plan. He did have a couple of concerns which were addressed. One, there was some difference between a 100-year storm event and a 25-year event, which I think he's comfortable with now. He did have some questions on the proposed canopy and why it's not located over the oil tanks. And I did have that same question originally. And he had some questions on a manhole. So I'm going to kind of defer this, Pat, if you don't mind, if you just want to give us your comments.
Sure. Pat Brennan with Amory Engineers. So I'll go through my comments, but I did, after I had submitted the letter a couple of days ago, I did have the chance to talk with Mr. Coluccio yesterday. And he also forwarded me his, basically the operation manual, or basically the description on how everything works there. So that really answered a lot of my questions. So I'll quickly go through my comments and just tell you my feeling on them at this point. The first comment was that all I had was the site plan. So the site plan refers to the plans by Web Engineering. So I was just suggesting that those plans be submitted. Mr. Coluccio had advised that they haven't actually designed the facility yet. They won't design it until they get their approvals, and then they'll design it and have to go through the State Fire Marshal's office for the permitting. So if the board is comfortable with that, I would just suggest that the submission of those plans be a condition if you were to approve the project. My second question was about the 100-year storm event. Mr. Coluccio mentioned that they will size it for that. Again, that's I asked for calculations for that, but when they submit the plans, obviously they'll submit the calculations to show that it contains that 30,000 gallon tank plus the 100-year storm event. My third question was the one that I was most concerned about, was how they evacuate rainwater out of that containment area, since there's no canopy over the containment area. My fear was that they'd have some type of a drain in there with a valve that would release the water via drain. Mr. Coluccio had, and he mentioned it in his presentation, it has to be a pump that's turned on manually. So it's not something that somebody can forget to turn a valve off and it can leak out at some point. So I'm comfortable with the manual pump way that they're going to operate it. And understanding that that's the way that these facilities are typically operated. So that put my mind at ease with making sure there was no drains in the bottom of this containment area. The existing manhole, I believe it's a catch basin just off the front side of this facility. I just want to make sure that it has a sump and a gas trap hood in it. Because if I understand that the truck loading area is sloped toward the containment dike, but if for some reason anything escaped, we just want to make sure that any type of a spill would get caught in that catch basin with a sump and a hood, and it wouldn't go directly into that existing drainage basin. And then I was just recommending that a detailed emergency and operation and maintenance procedures be submitted. I believe that's pretty much what Mr. Canuccio had submitted. He revised it yesterday. But obviously there's a much more detailed emergency action plan that they would need to submit while they're permitting the fire marshal's office. And again, if the board was comfortable with it, I would just say that be another condition if you were to approve the project, that you need a copy of that as well. I'm sure the fire department gets a copy of it anyway, but I think it would be good to have it in the planning board files as well.
Okay, thank you. If you're all set, Pat, thank you very much.
Yep.
I am now going to open it up to the board for any questions or comments. Let me see. Amy, I'm going to start with you first, if it's okay. Or want me to go to Rick? You're muted.
Who, me? I'm not muted.
No.
No, me. I'll allow Rick to start off.
Okay, Rick, go ahead.
No, I don't really have any comments, any concerns. This is pretty much just for their own use, just to fill their trucks up.
Yes.
It's not like people pulling in and getting off road and stuff like that. It's just for yourself.
No, it's for my own deliveries.
Yeah. So it just cuts you down a lot of trips to.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty much it. I don't really see anything that throws up a flag.
Amy, minutes?
I'm sorry.
Do you need a few more minutes? I don't know if you got any questions or concerns.
I'm just looking it over a little bit further. I think it's set off 40 feet off the back, 30 feet off the side. How are we on all the turn radiuses?
Was that a question?
Yes. How are we on all the turn radiuses for all the trucks with that put in there on the back?
Let me just see, Joe, I'm going to defer that to you. I mean, I looked at the plan at the proper scale. Or maybe Mr. Curtin, can someone put that screen share the plan again?
I can if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, there we go.
Then Joe, Joe, are you on? Joe Webby?
Yes, I am.
Okay. One thing that we don't have here is we don't have a traffic flow. So can you explain how this traffic is going to come in? And then maybe Mr. Curtin can fill us in as to where these trucks park to unload. It appears that the canopy area is going to be where he loads his trucks. Is that the same area that the tractor trailers are going to come in, and give us some idea as to what the traffic flow is going to be, or how it's going to be?
Traffic flow will be
Yeah, I
very
think I'll
minimal.
defer that to Tony.
Tony, okay, you want to answer that?
Yeah, minimal traffic flow. A trailer truck, possibly one a day. Very cold weather, maybe 2 every 3 days. The trailer can come in on the west side of the building to drive right underneath the canopy to unload, back up, and you can see that there's enough room. And I've had Dennis K. Burke in the yard, so the trailers do fit. I would probably load 3 times a day with my own trucks. So in and out of the yard, 8 to 10 times would be probably average, maybe a few more on a very cold day, but 15 vehicles going in and out of the yard, or repetitive trips, I should say, would be a lot. That would be a lot of work for me to deliver that much oil.
Okay, just anything else, Tony?
Nope.
Okay, just so that for the audience in the screen share, the top of the screen is the north, at where the north part is. See the north arrow? So Tony, just correct me if I'm wrong. The vehicles will be coming in between the existing garage and the leaching field. They're gonna drive in through there and then back underneath this pad, or are they coming in off the westerly side, driving in and then driving out, going north? They're
Either
gonna
is an option.
Pardon me?
Either way is an option. They could drive in and load off of the passenger side of the right side of the truck, or they could back in. Whatever is easiest for the driver. There would be no traffic in the yard. There are no other vehicles other than my own in the yard, plus the delivery. So there's not going to be anything in anyone's way. My trucks all stay in the building. You can only do one operation at a time, whether you're loading or unloading. So nobody's going to be in each other's way. More than likely, I would get deliveries in the course of the day while we are out on the road. So there'll be no one in the yard other than the driver and the secretary. I get very little, if at all, any customers come to the office because we get credit cards or paid at the house. And I don't encourage people to come to the property either.
Okay, anything else, Tony?
No.
Okay.
So,
Did I hear?
so the vehicles would be backing up into the loading area and then pulling out forward? Is that, because you can't go through, right?
If they drove in from the west side, they would drive underneath the canopy, drive in. They would back out and then drive out the east side of the building. And in the front of my yard, I have two 25-foot openings for trailer trucks to go in and out, and they will be gated once when I get going further on with the project.
Okay.
Keep unwanted traffic out.
So the existing tight tank that's in the building now, so if you look at the existing concrete pad,
Yes.
that is drivable for
Yes.
Okay.
It's H20, whatever that means. That's what I'm told, and it is specifically to hold 100,000 pound of weight.
Okay, and then the same with the existing septic tanks that are in the drive area that.
Yes, specifically, everybody knew when I was putting this project together what was going to happen in the yard, and it was designed to handle it.
Okay, I wasn't here, so I'm just asking, sorry.
Anything else, Amy?
Not at this time.
Okay, as I said, if somebody can take that down, whoever, the plan. Usually we try to get on our site plans some sort of traffic flow. I think in your particular case, there's going to be no one that's going to be stopping out on Route 106 and trying to back into your facility. Everybody's going to be driving in, whether they drive in.
Drive in and drive out, yes.
Okay, whether they come in on the easterly or the westerly side.
There's plenty of room to do either.
Yeah, in this particular scenario, I don't think that a traffic designation would be prudent. There was some issues that I had, which I read previously. I think you've addressed all of them on the high water alarm and the alarm systems. I do have one further question for Mr. Webby, because I asked that under our MS4 guidelines, anytime you disturb any more than 40,000 square feet, you're required to file a stormwater management plan. So having said that, Joe, does this project seem to appear under that?
Yes, it does. But it was designed for that on the original site plan.
Okay, that's right. You got 46,000. Okay, all right. So you feel very comfortable that you're going to meet our MS4 standards with this project?
Yes.
Okay. Before I go to the audience, I just want to double check with Amy and Rick to see if they have any other questions or concerns.
I do. Between the existing building and the roof overhang, and then the proposed concrete pad area where the canopy is, what is that distance?
I have a full-size plan here, so.
Me too, I'm looking at it. I'll get my ruler, I should have done that.
So you're saying from the canopy?
Yeah, the canopy of the proposed concrete pad to the existing building roof overhang, what is that distance?
I have approximately 33 feet.
From the overhang, I come up with. Amy, just to make sure that I got you right, you want to know from the overhang of the existing building.
Yep.
To the proposed concrete pad.
Yeah, because there's a canopy, so there was no measurement there, so I just wanted to know what that width would be.
Okay, and Joe, you're saying that's 30 feet?
No, I was measuring to the building. That's approximately 25 feet.
Yeah, okay, that's what I come up with 25 feet. So you got about 25 feet. So I guess is the question, can trucks get in through there?
Absolutely. The height is well over 14 feet.
No, the width, the width, even with the turning radius, I see no issue personally driving with big trucks that you could get a truck in there coming in off to the easterly side, heading towards the westerly side and backing in.
The canopy doesn't interfere with the truck anyway, the truck.
Who's speaking? Just be right. I'm sorry, whoever's speaking, I can't tell. Someone just spoke.
I was.
Okay, just try to get recognized first so we know for the record. Okay.
I was saying that the canopy is it's not a building, which means that it doesn't, the truck can, if it has to, with whatever portion it needs to make that turn.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. All right, Amy, Mr. Coach, the board's addressing it now, so if you get any other comments, you have to, I don't know, raise your hand or whatever they do. Amy, anything else?
No, I'm good for now.
Okay, I will now put it out to any abutters. Do we have any abutters that are on that would like to be heard? Seeing none, are there anyone else that wants to be heard on the matter?
You've got somebody, Rick.
Rick has got his hand up. Can you unmute him?
Yeah, well, you can unmute himself. He has to do that.
Oh, boy.
I'll try and unmute him. Let me see what I can do here. He has to unmute himself, Alan.
Okay.
I
don't know how to get a hold of him, so.
I think he just did.
Oh, there he did. Rick, are you unmuted? Can you hear us?
I hope I am.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Several things. First
Hold on,
off,
sir. You have to identify yourself for the record.
okay, Rick Greeley, 847 Plymouth Street.
Go ahead, sir.
Obviously, I'm quite familiar with this type of operation. If he is coming down from Bridgewater, making that swing into his lot is extremely difficult. And also to make the swing around the back of the building, that is extremely difficult for a trailer that's close to 70 feet long. And I think it'd be a good idea to have plans drawn up that actually show how he's going to be able to do that. The other thing is that pad is not as long as a trailer and a tractor. The tractor is going to go past that trailer pad. All right, so he's going to be, I don't know what the measurements are here. As he drives in, the trailer is going to take up almost the whole length of that pad. And the tractor is going to be in front of that pad. I can't tell from the diagram I got how big that pad is, but it's definitely not 70 feet wide. 70 feet long.
It says it's 67 feet.
So that
Just
trailer,
hold on a second, Amy, let him finish and then I'll get his questions answered. Okay.
I don't see how that trailer and the tractor together are gonna fit on that pad and then backing out and making that swing. You're coming into a street that's got Thompson Street and 106, which has had a lot of bad accidents. And then across the street, you got Cranberry Drive. All right. When that tractor comes down from Bridgewater, he's going to have to swing out a little to get in there. But coming back out, he's going to be swinging wide. Cranberry Drive is right there. You got a recipe for an accident. That's one thing I want to bring up. That should be on the plan. And I don't think people realize how big this bulk plan is. The tank is 3 times the size of these trailers that are loading, actually more than 3 times as big as the trailers that are loading this tank. I think that's going to affect the neighborhood home values. And they're huge. They are huge tanks. I don't know if the people in the neighborhood, are bothered by this, but the people that they're going to sell their homes to could be bothered by this. And the other thing is, I don't think people realize, but Mr. Curtin could have as many oil companies as he wants loading there. So it could be more than 10 or 15 trucks coming in there. He could have any oil company he wants load out of there and charge them a fee. I mean, I can do the same thing. I decided not to, but you could have a lot of oil trucks coming and going out of that area with Cranberry Drive across the street, 105 right down the street. You could have a lot of traffic going in and out of there. The other thing I don't think people realize how loud that thing is. You got a 30, maybe a 40 horsepower motor driving a huge pump that pumps 350, 400 gallons a minute. That thing is loud. And I have a lot of my tankers, they come in very early in the morning, very late at night to avoid traffic. So that thing could be quite disturbing to the neighborhood. I think these bulk plants belong in industrial areas. That is not the place for a bulk plant. Do the same thing I did, buy a piece of industrial land, put it down there. You don't have all that noise. You don't have all that traffic possibilities, especially if he decides to start filling other companies' oil trucks. And one other minor detail, a lot of people, when I'm filling their homes, they can't handle the smell. And I'm pumping 60 gallons a minute. When you turn around and have a bulk plant that's fueling an oil truck at 350, 400 gallons a minute, could be bothersome to the neighborhood. The fumes could bother people because I've had many people tell me that the fumes from me pumping into their homes bothers them. And this is 6, 7, at least 6 or 7 times as much fumes as my oil truck. So there's a lot of problems that could be bothersome to the neighborhood. And I don't think they realize the aggravation they're getting into. They belong in an industrial area. Those are my comments for now.
All right, nothing else, Rick?
No, not at the moment. Thank you.
I'd like, there's a couple of areas that I think we have jurisdiction over, and I'll see if I can get some clarity from Tony. I think Rick has got a point that if you do bring vehicles in from the westerly side, they are not going to be able to drive into the pad and unload. Is it a problem? And it's not I don't believe it's something we need to condition. If the vehicles came in between, come in off the easterly side, and those tanker trucks can back onto the pad so that the tank is on the pad, is that pretty much the intent? I know you said that you want to be able to drive them off, but I think he's correct. For the length of that vehicle and with the appropriate grading, and I think my scale, you've got a 50-foot pad there. You'd pretty much have to put the nose of that truck pretty much right at the end of that pad in order to get the vehicle to drain off. And if my memory's correct, these are going to be gravity fed into a pump, and then the pump extracts some of that and puts it into the tank.
Yes.
So, but if you could address the first issue, like Mr. Greeley said, are you going to be able to get vehicles in from the westerly side driving in and unloading? Typical, that truck is probably going to be about 30 feet long, the truck itself. I think that the tank they empty somewhere on the forward side of the tank. Is there enough room for you to get in, or are you going to have to back onto the pad?
There's enough room for them to drive in or back in. There's enough room to go around the east side or the west side. The yard will be open.
Okay.
The openings in the gates in the front yard are wide enough for trailer trucks to come in and out. I've already had Dennis Burke's trailers deliver fuel to me for the winter of 2018. There was no problem. We did not drive around the backyard, but it was easy enough to go around the front. And we did top loading at that time, which they choose not to do any longer. And it's fine with me.
And to address any traffic concerns, do you feel as though the truck coming in, whether it be east and west on 106, can make those turns without creating any traffic issues?
They're going to drive one shot right in the yard.
Okay. The last concern, well, he addressed some other concerns, but this board we can't do any home value and whatnot. That's the abutters would have to address that. When they're offloading, I know that oil tanks and trucks are vented. Is there going to be any issues with that venting process? We haven't discussed, and it's not, I think, a pertinent issue, is you got a 10,000 gallon tanker. I don't know how many gallons per minute your pump is going to be pumping. Typically, is there any offensive odors?
Bob, is there vapor recovery? Bob Coluccio?
No, there's no vapor recovery, but the vent pipes are a lot higher off the tank. There's, so that the vapors tend to dissipate before they reach down. So you're going to smell it. When the person offloading, filling the tank, will likely smell it to some degree, but it's meant to. The reason why the vents are elevated is to disperse those vapors before they get too far from the tank.
Okay, so you don't feel as though that a 10,000 gallon delivery is going to create an odor that's offensive to the entire area?
What happened with the transport truck when he's offloading? He's basically there for maybe 20 minutes, maybe 20 to 25. And so in the wintertime, people have their windows are shut. So noise and those kinds of vapors are typically, not going to be detected. In the summertime, the operation winds down quite a bit. And, so it's less likely even then to be a problem.
Okay. Mr. Greeley, I think they've tried to address your initial concerns, things like home values. That's not an issue I think that the board can address. If there are any abutters, and I think I asked, I think if there was any impact on values, they would probably be on tonight. Did we answer? Okay, go ahead. I think you're unmuted, so go ahead, Rick.
Okay, he is definitely going to be delivering a lot more fuel oil in the winter, but he also is got a tank that's diesel fuel. That ramps up quite a bit in the summertime. So he is going to be getting diesel fuel delivery. He's got a 5,000 gallon tank there. He's getting diesel fuel, off-road tank, off-road diesel also. So he is going to turn around and be getting deliveries year round. The other thing is, I don't think people realize how noisy those pumps are. They scream. I mean, this thing is pumping 350, 400 gallons a minute. You can hear it. And I don't think these people realize how noisy they are. And the windows aren't always closed in the summertime. That's something to think about.
All right, are there any other, I did ask for abutters and I'll ask for abutters again. Is there any other members of the public that have any questions or want any comments on the project?
Yeah, I would.
Go ahead, somebody said I would.
Gordon.
Oh, Gordon, go ahead.
Gordon Andrews, 688 Plymouth Street.
Yeah, go ahead, Gordon.
What are the hours of operation of this?
Start
Did you hear me?
7 o'clock.
Gordon, just for the record, Joanne, just for the record, that Gordon did recuse himself, and I think you're speaking as abutter, or you speak?
Resident at 688 Plymouth Street, yes.
Okay.
An abutter.
Okay. Mr. Curtin, you can kind of address any hours of operation. We're not in, there's nothing in our purview on our operation, but you can address that.
Typically, I start at 7 o'clock. I typically start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I work till probably the same in the evening. Sometimes I start earlier in the morning to go get a load of oil. I may go, 5 or 6 o'clock. Lately, I've been going in the middle of the day. But my hours of operation are, I would call 7 to 7.
For deliveries as well, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Curtin, as far as the deliveries, your deliveries are going to be 7 to 7. I think what his question is, when are the bulk storage deliveries coming in?
I would schedule them through the course of the day when there's nobody in the yard.
Okay.
I don't want to have vehicles in the yard at night because I have to sleep too.
I don't, does that answer your question, Gordon? Have you got any?
Yeah. Well, I was just, is it going to be a limit put on for the hours of operation or for delivery? That would be my question. And it does come under the site plan.
Okay. And we'll discuss that during the process. As far as oil deliveries themselves from the big tankers, I guess from experience and having people that deliver fuel for a living, you have to take the oil when they deliver it. I don't know that you can say don't come till 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning. That's been kind of the practice. When they get loaded, you need 10,000 gallons, they're going to bring it to you. I would think that, I don't want to put the emphasis on Mr. Greeley, but I think when he gets his deliveries, I don't know that he has any control to say, look, don't come at 3 o'clock in the morning, especially if we've got a cold winter night. But, it's an option on hours that's something the board can address. But as far as deliveries, I think you're getting kind of into a situation where we got a real cold winter and the oil is, I don't want to say flying off the shelves, but everybody needs the oil. I think it's very difficult to try to contain that. Tell the truck driver that you can't make a delivery at midnight when someone ran out of fuel, but that's up to the board. That's only my opinion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
well, under the site plan, I mean, we have restrictions for Walmart when they get their deliveries. We're talking about a bulk plant that, is in a neighborhood, so I don't see why that wouldn't apply here. And that's, I'm just looking for something, because Mr. Curtin may not own the plant forever. He may sell it, and then that would be a stipulation that would go with it. Thank you.
Okay. Let me just get a response from Mr. Curtin, then I'll go to you, Mr. Gurley. Mr. Grady. Tony, what's your take on operating hours? I think Gordon's correct. It is under our purview. But in your type of business, I'm a little hesitant. But, are there operating hours that you can seem to work with? I know your business zoned. We don't have anything in front of us that does require you to have them, unless someone wants to make that a motion or a condition of the approval. What's your feeling on that?
Well, I don't want any, but in the real sense of it, I don't work 24 hours a day. We're a very small operation. A 12-hour day is a long enough day. So I would say 7 to 7, or if you're going to restrict me to hours, don't hold me to that. We'll think that through. But realistically, sun up to sundown, you can't deliver oil in the dark. Or, well, you can, but not efficiently or safely once you go in a yard. So, try to think logically.
Okay. Mr. Graley.
Yeah, that's totally impossible to predict. I've been in this business 50-something years, 40. Well, my bulk plant's been in existence over 20 years. And if I call the day before, even the morning of, for a tanker, I might get that thing at 12 o'clock. I might get that thing at 3 o'clock in the morning. And they might say, oh, it's going to be here in 2 hours. But they get up to Citgo. Citgo is shut down. They have a problem. There is no way possible to figure out when that tanker is coming. And if he comes, he has to deliver it. All right. He can't bring that back to Citgo. All right. And he can't turn around and leave that in the truck overnight, because he's probably going to have to go back to Citgo to load up again with maybe a totally different product, maybe all off-road diesel. It just is, it can't happen. There is no way you can predict when that tanker is coming.
Okay.
And they especially like to deliver at off hours, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, midnight. I mean, I get a lot of deliveries at night, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, all winter long. I get more deliveries in the dark than I do during the day. They get up there and they have to sit. They might sit in line for 2-3 hours in the middle of the winter. So you can't predict that. So the neighbors are just going to have to realize that those tankers are going to come anytime they damn well please. And that's a fact.
Mr. Grady, can I just ask you a question? You have been in business for, I think you said about 40 years. And I understand the process as far as bulk deliveries. Those cannot be regulated, because when he makes the call, when that tanker gets there, it has to be unloaded. But your own fuel delivery business. And you do a lot for homeowners. Are you regulated by a time frame? I mean, I'm sure that you try to make your delivery between 8 and 5, but if you got a call for an oil out at 9 o'clock at night, you would probably send someone out to make that delivery on an emergency basis, or a Saturday or Sunday. Is that a correct assumption?
You're asking me or Rick?
I'm asking Rick. Rick's been in business.
Well, I've been in business for 40 years and I was in business for someone else 10, 15 years before that.
Okay.
You have to turn around and deliver when someone calls, it's an emergency or something. You might, at the end of the day, end up not having enough oil to take care of someone. So you might have to go up. You might have to load that thing at 9:30 at night because you just kept on going. You get one call after another, and all of a sudden you're empty. It's 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. You're going to have to load that truck. You can't leave it empty overnight because you might have an emergency overnight. It is a 24-hour operation, and that's the way it goes. That's why I'm saying these places belong in industrial parks. They don't turn around and belong next to a residence.
Okay.
They'll be going 24 hours a day.
You've answered my questions. I hope you've answered Gordon's questions as far as hours of operation. Do we have any other comments from butters, neighbors, anybody in town? Okay, having none, is the board in a position where we can make a decision on Mr. Curtin's project? It looks like there's a multitude of conditions. Just in our conversations and doing a little bit of research, if the board is so inclined to approve the site plan, some of the conditions would have to be submission of the drawings for the building department. He would need approval from the selectmen, the zoning board of appeals, the fire department, and the fire marshal's office. Those would be conditional on the permit. And the question on the gas trap would have to be addressed also. Whether an MDC gas trap is installed, bolted in gas cover on that should probably be installed. And I guess, Mr. Curtin, I'm going to ask that, would those things be done as far as a condition for approval if the board's so inclined?
Yes.
Okay. What is the board's pleasure?
I would like to see the radiuses put on this plan. I think that I've seen them on other site plans that have come before us, and I think that this is important. And I think that we should see the radiuses. If a 70-foot long trailer, and then the tractor is larger than that as well.
No.
No.
Combined.
It's combined 70 feet,
Yeah.
and the pad's 50.
And we're unloading the trailer. We're not unloading the tractor.
Okay. Well, I would like to see the radiuses put on the plan.
All right. So what I'm looking for, if anybody's so inclined, is if someone wants to make a motion to approve this based on the conditions I mentioned, adding the radiuses on the plan.
I'm not comfortable with approving it until I see the swings put on. I want to see the turn radiuses put on there. I want it before I say I agree to it, because there's been a lot of things that have been brought to my attention tonight that I'm looking at this and seeing that there are tighter spots, and I don't see, like, I had to ask how many feet were between things, and I would like to see for myself where all of the, like, where is the building on each corner and where does it hit the existing asphalt so that we can see where the turn radiuses are gonna be. I don't want to just take somebody's word for it. I want to see them and I want to see how they work. 70 feet's a long truck.
Just to address just one of your concerns, there is no pavement there to my knowledge.
Oh, it says edge of existing reprocessed asphalt. Is that not?
That's not pavement. The entire parcel has got reprocessed asphalt.
So that's not the same as pavement then?
No.
Okay,
That's not the same as pavement.
thank you.
And based on, and you can make the motion or whatever, based on, I'm gonna say my experience and from what I see here, adding turning radius, you can. I personally don't see a problem with a truck getting in there. Only problem that I see, I'm a little bit of a disagreement with Mr. Curtin, is if you drive the truck in from west to east, will it get in there? But it's his facility. He has to make that determination. So does anybody want to make a motion, whether to approve, continue? What's the board's pleasure? Rick, I think I'm probably gonna have to defer to you.
I could make a motion to accept the site plan. I don't see a problem with the site plan. As far as all the traffic issues and neighbors and everything else, is that our call?
Yes.
Yes, if it's our we need to consider traffic. It's based on the number of vehicles he's getting. I personally don't see any issues with traffic.
Well,
the other issue that we have is if there was some abutters or neighbors that typically had concerns on property values, then they probably should be heard. So I don't see that that's something that we can do. So are you going to make a motion based on the conditions that I mentioned?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, and those conditions would be the submission plans, which are going to be suitable for the building department. The second issue would be approval from the selectman's office, the fuel storage permit. I believe this is going to require zoning board of appeals approval. The fire department needs to sign off on this, and I believe that the fire marshal's office has to sign off on this prior to any permits being issued, along with the gas trap. The basin be fitted with the appropriate either gas trap or bolted and gasketed covers. Would that be your motion, Rick?
Yes, that'd be it.
Okay.
What about the hours of operation that people were talking about?
Well, I mean, if we can deal with that on an individual basis, but I think Mr. Greeley explained it very clearly. I don't think it's proper to try to regulate something that Mr. Curtin can't regulate. If those trucks are on the road, you've got to take a delivery. If someone needs heating oil for their house at 9 o'clock at night, he needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he operates recklessly and we start getting some complaints, which to my knowledge, I haven't heard any, then I think we can readdress it. But hours of operation, it'd be like, I think it would be suicide. So we have a motion on the floor. If you want to make, if you want to second it, or I'll second it for discussion. If you want to add a condition, we'll deal with that condition separately. But, you know, bear in mind, Mr. Greeley's been in business for 40 years. You just heard him say that you can't tell when them trucks are coming.
I was just asking to go over it, but my main concern would be the radiuses. I think we need to deal with traffic since that's going, I mean, 105 is right here. And I know that pulling out a car during most of the day now is a difficult thing. So I would like to see the turn radiuses to prevent anything from occurring later that we can't control then.
Okay, don't forget that what you're requesting are turning radiuses that are in his own private property. To add those onto the plan,
Well, yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't your concern that the west side of the building wouldn't be able to take it in? So wouldn't you want to see how it would work out as well? I mean, that's the communication that you've given. You're concerned about a truck coming in on the west side, then I think that you have the same concern. And, you know, to do the right thing by the town, we should be making sure that all the radiuses are here. And therefore, we're doing the due diligence that we're elected to do to make sure that the town is, and Mr. Curtin, everybody is protected here.
Okay.
We can't go back once it's there.
Okay, I think the regulation of traffic flow for this particular site should not be required. I think he needs to make the decision on how he wants to bring them trucks in. Typically, like in the prior project, you know, we want a directional flow where the traffic's coming in and out. You know, even if he had a dozen vehicles a day coming in, I think he's got to make that decision on which truck, how long it is, how good that driver is to come in.
But
That's
to your point, we don't know what tractor trailer is coming, how long it is, or where, and we don't have a choice on that according to everything we've heard tonight. So wouldn't you think that we should probably do the due diligence in advance just to be sure?
They're pretty much all the same size tractor and trailer. They're 13,000 gallon trailers.
Oh, hold on. Whoever's talking,
I don't know.
let me just kind of answer her question. In my opinion, the due diligence is that whatever he's got on his site, he's responsible for, to try to get a directional flow, and try to make him stick to a directional flow. I think is totally uncalled for.
But on the last site plan for 894 Plymouth Street, we were talking about directions, how to back up, and that was all within our purview. But then all of a sudden on this site plan, it's not?
It's not under our purview. We're looking at retail, the other project, we're looking at retail customers coming in from here, there, and everywhere, okay? That sometimes will park wherever they want to park. This particular site, you're looking at professional truck drivers. So I'm giving you my opinion. And those drivers are going to have to make a decision once they get in there. So again, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? And then we'll go into discussion and we can go over conditions again if you want. So we have a motion on the floor to approve it with the conditions that I read. Would you like to second that, Amy?
No.
Okay, I will second that for discussion. So we have a motion and we have a second. Do you want to change, add, or for us to consider any other conditions?
Yeah, I've said that. I would like to see the turn radiuses on how it's going to work so that we can make sure that we have a compliant property.
I don't have a problem, Mr. Curtin, if you want to have the engineer revise your plan to put on some turning radiuses. My experience tells me that it's immaterial, but that's your call.
I believe the same, Al. There's going to be no other traffic in the yard but the truck that's coming in the yard to make the delivery. When he's gone, we go to work.
Well, then it shouldn't be a big deal.
There's no traffic like you're talking about up at the retail store with 40 parking spaces. I am not having anybody parking in my yard other than myself. There's not going to be anybody coming in and off the street that's not familiar with the site. It's going to be the same driver, and it's probably going to be one a day. It's not going to be a huge traffic problem. And I'm going to be, and my son will be the drivers from our operation, and that's it. We're not going to have huge traffic flow. So your concern is I don't see. And the trucks work. The trucks have already been in the yard. They've already been around the building. It's not a problem.
But there hasn't been a fuel storage facility there, so that would be a variant to how it is now. I see how your layout is now, and I can see how that would work. But when you add in a spot such as this, I'm just asking for turn radiuses because I think that we should do that and continue to see those to be sure.
The storage site is going to be,
Mr. Curtin,
it's off to the side of the yard.
Tony, just hold on. Try to direct your questions. We have a motion and we have a second. My question was whether or not we had some conditions that the rest of the board seemed suitable. You can, if you want to, Amy, I'd allow you to make a motion if you can get a second on adding turn and radiuses. That's up to you. You can do that. If not, I'll move for a vote.
I do. I motion to add that condition. And so we have the condition here that Calucci advised that they haven't designed the system yet, that we'll need to approve that, and that we'll wait calculations from those pending plans. So we need to condition on that. Is that part of, and then we need to condition on the pump being turned on manually. And then we would have to condition it to make sure that the deep sump and gas trap hood would separate the sediment and the oils from the storm water. And then I think that we should, that's there, but I also want to see, and I don't want to approve a plan without seeing these things and seeing how they all work together. I think that it's a big part of this whole entire system. We need to see it. I need to see the turn radiuses, and I'll again go to the fact that you even have a question on how it would work on the west side. So I don't think it would hurt to see the turn radiuses in advance.
Okay, the items that you asked for are all part of the conditions.
Okay, I'm just being sure.
Yeah,
I'm making sure.
Submission of the plans are part of our conditions, and those plans have to be approved by the building department. That's going to be the construction aspect of the dike. The operation and maintenance plan includes those items that you mentioned about any potential spills or opening and closing.
Yeah, I was taking the advice of Armory, and I took notes on what he said, and those were the things that he said that should be in this.
So they've indicated that as part of the condition, there's going to be a gas trap. So from what I gather, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're asking for some turning radiuses.
Yes, I am.
So we have a motion on the floor to add the additional condition of a turning radius. I don't want to make your motion, so.
I'm asking to, I'm making a motion to continue so that we can see the site plan with these items on there.
So you want to continue the whole process?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do I hear a second for that? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote on approving the project for Curtin Brothers Fuel based on the conditions that I mentioned. Joanne, did you get a list of those conditions? If not, I'll provide them for you. Joanne, you with us?
Yes, I did.
You did. Okay. We have a motion and a second, and I'm going to move to a vote. Rick?
Yes.
Amy?
No.
Alan? Yes. Okay. The plan is approved. Mr. Curtin, we will need something from one of your representatives, or what we will do, we will craft, and I might have to send it out to council, a list of the conditions that you're going to be going by. And we will get that out to you within a reasonable time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anybody want to take a break, or do you want to still finish up? Finish up, then. Let me just find my agenda. Oh, boy.
We're on Edward Bootman Trust for 279 Wood Street, Form A.
I've lost my second agenda. Yes, Edward Bootman, that particular plan, that is page 48 on our agenda paperwork. From what I understand, and I don't know if Mr. Webby is still on, we approved this previously a month or two ago.
Yes.
We did a Form A. There were some issues on the factors. Those issues were resolved, but it was brought to, I guess, the engineer's attention that there was a question on the ownership of a portion of this parcel. So a new Form A plan has been submitted. Did all the board members get a chance to read it or look at it?
Where is the change? And who is the other owner?
Okay, Joe, do you have the ability to screen share? If not, I don't know that Charlie has that ability.
Approved. Plan.
Joe Webby here. Yeah, I do not have the ability to screen share.
Hold on a second. Joanne, this is in our package, right?
It is page 51.
Page 51. Charlie, is it possible to, you still got Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay. Joe, could you kindly explain what the problem was or is?
Yes, right behind, whoops, I lost it. Okay. Right behind lots 4, 6, and 7, well, mostly behind 4 and 6, there's a parcel of land that is now designated as 118-4, I believe, 4B. That piece now is designated by the town as owners unknown. Originally, the town of Halifax has been assessing the Bootmans since like 1943. But when they were getting ready to sell the house, the title examiner there was a bad title for that piece. So we were asked by the Bootmans to redraw the plan so that we just have the parcel that has good title, which is now the lots 4, 6, and 7. And basically those all still meet your regulations for frontage and area.
So I can't really read these. Sorry, Joe. Is there a way that you can maybe zoom in a little so I can see the measurements? Maybe you could point to what you're saying.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the question.
Sorry. Thank you for zooming in. That was my first one. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I was hoping that you could point out to what you were saying.
Yeah, right now, let's say to the right-hand side of lot 6 and where the house is.
Joe,
is
excuse
now
me.
designated as.
Joe, excuse me 1 second. Charlie, do you have the ability to put that pointer? Oh, whoever screen, yeah, there. There's the mouse, Joe. So if you can direct, yeah, that parcel right there, that's the parcel that Amy's question.
That's now designated as owners unknown. Whereas before the town of Halifax had that as being owned by the Bootman Trust. And the title examiners were questioning that. So in order to create a good title, the attorneys and the estate asked us to redraft the plan, eliminating that parcel that had a bad title from the lots.
Oh, okay. So that whole lot that is considered owners unknown is now gone, and that lot is reduced from to 1.29 acres instead of whatever it was previously. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly right. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions, Amy?
Not yet.
Okay, Joe, I have one question.
Sure.
The parcel ID and lot number, has that been okayed by our assessor's office?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
It took us a while to get the new parcel ID number, but yes.
Okay, that's okay. Gordon, you're back on, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on this particular one, Gordon?
No, we're just basically cutting off the back wetlands off of that and reducing it down to what's left, correct?
Correct. Yep. Rick, any questions on that?
No, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the Form A for 279 Wood Street for Edward Boutman.
I will make a motion to approve the new plan presented to us tonight, May 6th, 2021. Map 118, lot number 6, is it? Is that now going to be the lot number 6?
We're going to create lots 4, 6, and 7.
Oh, okay, so we're going to recreate 4, 6, and 7. Is that what you're saying? Okay, all right, sorry.
Yes.
Let me restart. My motion will be to modify from what we usually do. Do we need to say that at all? Do we need to say that we did it or it never got recorded?
No, basically, you're going to record the plan as presented. This is a Form A. They presented the plan, so you can make a motion to approve the plan as presented to us.
Okay, one question then. So we disregard the other plan completely? Okay, now I get it. Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
New Form A will supersede any existing form.
Okay.
So you'll be endorsing the Form A.
Okay, we'll be endorsing the Form A for 279 Wood Street to create lots shown on the plan here tonight.
Okay, do I have a second?
Got the map and lot number on there?
Map 118, lot 4, into the 3 lots 5, 6, and 7, right?
Excluding.
All right, somebody else can make them the motion then.
All right.
Sorry. I tried. It was a little confusing.
My suggestion, so it's not so technical, would be to make a motion to approve the plan prepared by Webby Engineering for Edward Boutman dated April 2021.
Okay. I'll second.
No, you want to move that? You can just.
I'll move that. I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, have a second. I'm going to go to a roll call. If Charlie can take that off. I think, Gordon, you're first, but I'll defer. Gordon?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Alan, yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Okay.
Oh, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I don't have a raise hand thing, or at least I don't know how to use it. So,
I don't either, so go ahead, sir.
good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Matt Perkins. I represent the potential buyer of the lots that you just created. And we're hoping to close within, I think by next week. I didn't know the procedure for getting the board's endorsement on the plan, so the seller's counsel could get it recorded.
I can go in there tomorrow if I can.
Okay, tomorrow's Friday.
Go in there Monday.
If the plan is in the office, I personally, Mr. Perkins, don't have a problem getting over there on Monday.
Okay.
Rick, what is your schedule?
As far as I know, I can get there Monday.
Okay.
Okay. Amy, you can get over there Monday. Gordon?
I shouldn't have a problem.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'll ask Joanne to, when she comes in Monday morning, she doesn't work again until Monday, to get the plan out. And if everybody's not in by 12.
Yeah, it is already out on the table.
It's already out on the table?
Okay.
If we're not there by 12, she should start bugging on the phone.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate that. I think my client's rate lock expires on the 11th. So if we get it done Monday, it can get recorded and hopefully we can close on Tuesday and you'll have a new resident in your town.
Okay, good luck. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the board's time.
Okay. All right, we're going to, all of appointments and hearings are done. We're going into discussions. And it's very late, so we're going to breeze right through this, I hope. We have a memo from Attorney Mayo regarding the planning board meeting minutes. I'm hoping everybody saw that. I don't hear anything. So Franklin Street solar array, I hope that we can have a meeting, that this is not on our agenda. We are still waiting for
I did,
as-built
I-
corrections.
I did have something to say about the memo. I wanted to see where it was originally from. Not like, it seems funny that if it was an email, usually Larry signs it. And I would like to see where that is from, not just an initial from Larry Mayo. I think I emailed the board about it,
Okay.
the secretary.
What it looks like to me, and it looks like Larry sent Joanne an email. Now, whether or not he listened to the meeting on this particular email, I don't know. I will get you an answer.
Thank you.
I see that his first thing is I was asked, so I will attempt to get you an answer on that.
Okay.
All right. The next Franklin Street, the as-built, I know that they're having trouble with their engineering companies. Hopefully we'll get that at some point. Pasture Lane status, just thought that the board members know that I have been in communications with the developer, and a couple of the neighbors have, at least one of the neighbors has been communicating with me. I think we're getting closer. The ball right now is in the developer's court. I have reached out to council. We've come up with the procedure, which I think everybody's seen. A new hearing would have to be held. About a notification, where we come in, make a presentation based on reducing the road thickness, and then some sort of an agreement, which would have to be done prior to correct all the other deficiencies. So that's where we're at. The ball's in his court. It's my understanding that they are going to be filing. When, I don't know. Okay, subdivision control regulations.
Excuse me.
Yes.
This is Tina Kenyon from Pasture Lane. I've been on almost every one of these meetings and just have been quiet, but I just wanted to go back through because as I've been waiting this evening, I went through all of the meeting minutes for Pasture Lane for basically the past 2 years that we've been dealing with all of this. And on the August 6th meeting, the person who's going to be building, Mr. Paquette, had said to the board that unless they could go with 2 layers, he wasn't going to build. It wouldn't be cost effective for him. So that was last August. On the last meeting back in March, I was on, and we were supposed to be, it was agreed upon by the board that you guys were going to be sending out an abutters notice. So I'm just wondering if he already told us in August that he was only doing 2 layers. Why is it almost a year later and we don't have anything further? Like, this just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling, and the street's falling apart more by the day. And last time, no one had answers, and I think that you had gotten very angry with me, and that's why I've subsequently stopped speaking during these meetings. But I've had enough. Like, it just keeps going. We were supposed to have an abutters meeting. Like, I'm just not sure what to do anymore. It's been so long.
Okay, if you want me to address that, I will. I'm not sure about the August 6th meeting as far as the layers. It might be a little confusion. But the problem is that the original.
Alan?
Yeah.
I lost my connection. Could you fill me into where we're at?
Oh, I'm sorry. Miss Kenyon is got questions relative to August 6th meeting. Did you hear that part?
No, I didn't.
Something in the minutes about 2 layers. And
the developer had said that if he had to do the 3 layers, he wouldn't be able to build.
Okay.
It'd be cost prohibitive.
Ms. Kenyon, okay, let me get the floor. I'll come back to you. I'm just going to explain to catch him up. There was something there about the 2 layers, and then the fact that this project has kept going on and on and on and on. So I just want to kind of address that, just so that there's no confusion. The plan calls for 3 layers. It's my understanding that the the applicant wants to put on one additional layer. So that means you'll have 2 layers. Right now, we're kind of at the mercy of that developer. They have to come in with a proposal, and we've had some proposals that have come in, and they have been reviewed by a review engineer. At this point, we need to get a check from that developer for our engineers to review. Let me just step back. We need to get a plan from the developer as to what he wants to do. That needs to go out to be reviewed along with the punch list, as we call it, which was 2 pages long, as to the repairs that need to be made. And we are getting closer, but as the board, we can only put so much pressure. It's up to the developer to bring that to us. He seems to want to do this project in good faith. It's just been going on and on. So I don't know if I've answered your questions, because I don't know exactly what you're referring to in the minutes, so.
Well, in the minutes, the developer specifically said that he was only going to do 2 coats. He specifically said it's in the meeting minutes that have been approved. If he could not do that, then he wouldn't be continuing with the build.
And so that's what he's proposing to do.
Right, but why is it almost a year later and this hasn't been brought as a meeting? The abutters haven't been notified if that was discussed last August.
Okay, I'm just gonna answer you this way. The owner of the property is the proponent. He has to apply to us. We can't say, Mr. Owner, we need you to come in and finish this subdivision.
Well, actually you can, because there's a covenant and he's a year and a half past the final date of the covenant. So at this point, what he's doing is illegal and he does need to be pushed. Town council's reached out to him, and I'm just looking through the notes from the last 2 years. Town council's reached out to him at least 10 times. How much money is that costing the taxpayers to keep reaching out to him to hope that he does this? Like, so we have to put our foot down here and get this done. We just keep waiting on this guy. It's been 14 years.
I think he's over by 16. Someone's over by 16 years. The subdivision should have been completed in 2 years, the way I understand the regulations.
2 years from the final from a sale. It has been sold 3 times.
Okay. So I don't have any answers.
No, I know, and you didn't have any answers in August, and that's the problem, is no one has any answers. And when I follow up at the town hall, no one has any answers. And here I am with holes in my street.
Okay. The only thing I can tell you is what I just told you. You've noticed, and I've read through the file and how many letters went out from town council. I don't believe they went to this guy, but the project's been sold 2 or 3 times. I don't have an answer, ma'am. And Gordon, you've been working on this for a lot longer than I have. I don't know if you can shed any light. I mean, you know how difficult it is to get developers to kind of follow through.
Yeah, I can follow up with that. I mean, we were talking through with the developer.
Yeah.
He was ready to do something with the lot. And then he was told from the building department, he didn't have a legal lot. And then that stopped everything. And then they worked that through, and he does have a legal lot. And then by the time they got that worked out, it was winter. And then we're back again. I mean, it's like, I thought we had a deal that was going last year, and then everything came to a crap because, the building department stepped in and said, oh no, you don't have the lot.
Correct.
And then the only way that this is going to work is if the lot gets built on. But I am not one to say, go ahead and build a house and fix the road afterwards.
No.
It's the last thing.
No.
The people have been waiting forever and ever now. He needs to get his act together and start doing something on the road. If he wants to put up a bond for that, that's fine. But I'm not releasing the road to him unless he starts doing some work, because the road's not even passable right now. So to release the lot, that's just foolishness.
Right.
We've listened to the story. Every time they come in, they're going to do it, nothing happens. So, I mean.
Well, and the town has some responsibility here too, because there is a covenant attached to the lot. When things get sold, there's titles involved, and obviously this isn't being attached properly because it's not recorded in court. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been passed 3 times.
It's recorded in the registry. The problem is the lot doesn't belong to the town. It's a covenant on the lot.
Right.
And so the town can't take the lot and finish the road. It doesn't work.
No, but
So
it shouldn't be able to be sold with a covenant attached.
I agree with you.
So,
and town council has worked on it. We thought we had a deal going last year.
Me too.
And I've talked to him over the winter a couple of times, and when the spring comes, well, we're getting closer to summer now, and nobody stepped up. So,
Amy,
I mean, I definitely feel for you, and I've been on the board since this thing started, and it's a mess. And the directive of the board has been since then. I mean, the board's changed, but we would not be taking lots in covenant anymore. We'll take a bond or cash security from now on.
I mean, last year it was supposed to go before the selectmen, and then that was in one of the meeting minutes too, and that just died on the vine too. It never goes anywhere.
well, that's why my solution back, a couple months ago, I think Mary Baker was also on, would be for the building department to say that they will give a building permit when the road is completed, which will then allow the developer, or I mean the owner of this lot who's going to finish the road, some mind security that he's going to get a building permit when the road is finished. And he's not getting a building permit, but he has the furnished knowledge that he will. And then
they approved his septic plan, Amy.
I'm sorry?
They approved his septic plan.
Oh.
Yeah, that was on 1/7/21 in the meeting minutes. His septic plan has been approved.
Our meeting minutes, the ones that.
Yep.
Interesting. So Alan, you guys approved a septic system on the Board of Health on 1/7/21 for that lot?
That's what the meeting minutes you guys have online say.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the date. I know that the lot that was in question there, we did approve a septic plan. I know that Bob Valerie went out and they had to re-perk it. He was out a couple of times, and a septic plan did come in, and that was approved. So
if that's the case, then I don't see how my plan wouldn't be a good idea to say, hey, we'll give you a building permit so that you know your lot is buildable once the street is built, and then he'll feel comfortable spending all the money that he has to spend doing the street so that he knows he can build the house.
that is the process we're going through now.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that's what I said in March.
That's the process.
What was the latest you had from him, Alan?
Latest I had from him is that he was going to have a plan done. That plan would be submitted to the planning board, that he would hold a public hearing. He would notify all the abutters in the subdivision, and I think our regulation is either 200 feet or 300 feet beyond that.
And that was on 3/19, so here we are going on almost 60 days.
I got the floor. And then when the hearing, prior to the hearing being held, okay, then agreement would have to be reached on how the building permit and the road business would be done. So that when this board hears that issue on the pavement, my feeling is the board should have a written agreement on a sequence of events as what's going to happen. That's where we're at right now.
So the building department would be a key person to say that once the planning board signs off on the road, then yes, we will issue a building permit as long as you're within, the Halifax zoning bylaws is your setbacks and things like that, which I think I said at a meeting when Mary Baker and Tina, you were on it too. Didn't I say that like 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Do you have those emails with the developer that we can please see? Because that would make us all in the same line of communication. Can you please share those with the board?
Who, me?
Mhm.
Those have been shared.
Emails with the developer or the owner of that lot.
Correct.
Al, there hasn't been anything recent, correct?
I can't tell you the last time I CC Joanne on all the communications, and she usually sends everything right out. When you say recent,
I think
it's
a couple of months at this point, right?
No.
I
No?
haven't seen anything on Pasture Lane come through in a long time.
The last stuff on the meeting minutes was on 121, just regarding it said still permitting.
Yeah. I'm gonna
4
say
months.
it was in the last 3 weeks.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I'd like those to be shared with the board so that we can all be on the same line of communication, please.
I can tell you without fail, the neighbors and I have discussed this, and whether he has a public hearing or not, we're not gonna go for 2 layers. It's been 14 years. The layer that's here isn't even worth, it's not even worth dirt. It's disgusting. It's falling apart. So I'm sorry that it's gonna cost him a lot of money, but it's dragging my house value down daily. It's ruining my car. We were told when we bought this house, it'd be done within a year. So it's very frustrating, and it's very frustrating that we go through this cycle year after year.
So
All right, is there anything else? I'm just gonna take a look, take a minute to see.
I forwarded an email on March 25th.
March 25th. Let me just see if I can find that here. Does that sound like the last time that
Yeah, that's the most recent, and all of them I have shared with the board. Every Pasture Lane email.
But that's what I was saying. There was nothing really recent.
well, we were forwarded things from Larry Mayo, but I don't see what I was just inquiring about, which was the emails between Alan and Paquette.
Yeah, all those emails, and there wasn't a lot of them, were sent to Joanne. I'm trying to see the March 25th.
When did we make, I mean, the last meeting, I believe you said you didn't have an update. When was the last time you spoke with Mr. Paquette to make this arrangement?
That I can't tell you. Let me look through this stuff here. Pasture Lane, April 12th. Joanne sent out an email to, I believe, everybody. And then I'm not sure how to open this, but it says Pasture Lane timeline. And let me see if I click on that. And it says, it's from me to Joanne. Please forward this to Amy Troop.
But, oh, that's the one that I said, can you please forward the email? Because this is a memo, not an email. Or a letter, not an email.
Right. Okay. Now that's one of them. I don't know how to get back. So you got something April 12th.
So that's the one that I asked you. Can I please see the email? Can you forward the email of the timeline?
Halifax planning.
Because it doesn't really.
Hold on. No, I've got 600 emails in here. Only thing I could suggest is Joanne, when she gets in Monday, you can take a look. I don't know exactly when I spoke, pasture lane inquiry. No, that was one of the homeowners there.
That was Malia.
A letter went out April 27th. Wait a minute, that might have been the inquiry from somebody.
It was. It was. It was from Malia.
No, please see email. Yeah, there was a letter, one went out that I sent to council on April 27th, which everybody should have gotten. And then, oops, then another email went out, pasture lane for distribution on April 27th. That again might be that same email, I don't know.
But it doesn't seem to say the same thing, this timeline of what you
know,
stated.
what's very confusing to me is that when these emails come in and they have all the same stuff on them, that's kind of confusing. So, you know, I answer the emails as they come in. Let me see. Okay, that's what I have in front of me. Next week, we can go over those with Joanne, just make sure everybody got it, but I am positive that it went out and basically that letter said, this is what you need to do based on the subdivision control laws and mass general laws and reopening the subdivision and the procedure to open that subdivision and about a notification. And there was a line in there that said that whatever agreement needed to be reached on the road prior to any public hearing. So that's my recollection. But I can't tell. I'm not a good email person. Let me see. There's the timeline. So that's all I can tell you at this point. But I think if you go through the massive amount of emails that we've got, you're going to find it.
Well, Joanne just sent one to me. She just, you know, these pasture lane time.
That's the letter.
Timeline.
Yeah, that's the letter.
That's the letter, yeah.
Yeah. I write them and I send them. Joanne will make sure that whatever went out, you guys get, but I think you have.
I just find it a little frustrating that, you know, all this time later, I get a, well, that's all I've got. Like, I understand that that's not your life's work to deal with pasture lane, but I've asked these questions numerous times and I'm not getting any answers, and it's quite frustrating.
Okay. All right, is there anything else on pasture lane?
I agree with T, and I mean, it's been dragging on and on and on, and it is kind of crazy.
It is. And
I can understand the road has been beat to death for 14 years or whatever, and
18,
and just to put one coat of payment on it and call it a day, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right to me, but it's ridiculous how this keeps dragging and dragging and dragging.
But no one from town is holding anybody accountable. That's the problem. The town made the land bond, not me.
I think it was a lousy idea to begin with. You know,
it was totally a lousy idea, but no one wants to step up to help us.
It is what it is. It's like a rock. You know, it's a catch-22. It's hard to. I don't know.
That's kind of why we don't do them anymore.
Yeah,
I really wish they could help out.
I mean, I'll reach back out to Paquette, but you know, if there's two of us doing it, I don't know if it makes any sense.
Yeah.
I've reached out to Paquette too, and he hasn't called me back once.
Okay.
So
he has returned my calls. That's where we're at right now with that. The ball's in his court. I understand the frustration. This board is powerless based on the previous planning board's action. If there was money to be held, then someone would fix the road. There is no money.
Well, again, a simple, like, we'll give you a building permit so you can build a house on that lot as long as the road is fixed and signed off by the planning board, would be a way that he'll put the money into the road, knowing he'll get a building permit. And I think that that would be a way that we could all work together to get it done.
And I agree, and that's the proposal that the developer is supposed to come up with.
Well, like I said, I had talked to him before. I thought we had a deal, and then the building department stepped all over it, and the deal went south. So I don't know what to say at this point. I'll continue to keep trying. I have no problem doing that. But when the other departments step in, it just wipes it out.
And I believe, if my memory is correct, the shape factor business was resolved with the building department, and then he went for his perk test. But
yeah, well, I mean,
I don't have any
the shape factor shouldn't have even entered into it. It was an accepted lot. So that's what I'm saying. As another department gets their fingers into it, don't know what they're doing, and they screw it up.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
All right, is there anything else on pasture? I mean, there's not, I can't give anybody any answers, any better than what I've got, so we'll move on to subdivision control regulations, chapter 235, section 6C. I did not, and I have not had a chance to put that together. That was the question on whether or not, or our 14 days versus 21 days on our approval not required. And I just have not been able to get to that.
I'm sorry, my battery keeps dying and I keep dropping it. So if I drop, I drop, but I'll be with you when I can, yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a compliance update. We got some correspondence from Attorney Rezovitz. I responded to that. That was in my package, so I'm assuming it's in everybody else's package, right?
It is.
Okay. Any questions?
What was that?
It's on Cled Street, Gordon, so you'd have to recuse yourself anyways. It's just, we're noting the correspondence from
Okay, because mine is coming in kind of spotty when I'm hearing, so.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Next item on agenda is our March 18th meeting minutes. They would be page 58 in our agenda. And we have 90 pages and it's late.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 18, 2021.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the March 18th, 2021 meeting minutes. I'll go for a roll call vote. Amy?
Yep.
Gordon?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Alan, yes. Okay. Our last item on the agenda, there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's been about 8 correspondences that I think everybody's gotten a copy of. I don't know if anybody's got any questions. It's all in our packages, and if anybody's got any questions, we'll deal with it. And the last item would be notice of abutting towns. I know I've read all that. Anybody got any questions, concerns on the correspondence?
No, but I would like to say that we do have correspondence from Tuesday, April 20th, 2021 from Paul Mar Hilliard asking that we have a master plan. So it says, since the currently posted master plan is now 11 years old, is the planning commission currently looking at updating it? If so, they have something they want to suggest.
I believe, and Gordon, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that master plan is from the mid-90s, isn't it? So it's really in need of updating.
It did have an update in between, but yeah, it could. But to be honest, the planning board by itself is not going to be able to do an update on it.
Yeah.
They're going to have to get a master plan committee together. There's a ton of work to update in the whole thing. And I was involved in it the last time the planning board did it, and it took forever. I mean, you try to do it in between things. It just, it's a real job to do it.
Amy, let me just make a suggestion. I'll have, where it's so late, I'll have Joanne put that on our next agenda, and then we can discuss it and see if we can maybe do an RFP to get an organization to come in and assist us, because it is very long and extensive, and we don't have anybody with experience. We could spend 2 years in a committee, and then it'd be outdated. I did not respond to Mr. Hilliard, but we will put it on our next agenda. And if somebody's got some ideas, and if there's organizations out there, I know Old Colony Planning Council might be able to assist us, or at least give us some names, and then we'll have to see if there's any funding available.
Old Colony Planning helped us the last time, but my suggestion would be to put it out there and see if there's an interest in the town first.
Okay, well, we're good. I mean, the original plan that I saw, I thought was 95. You think it was updated since?
Well, I got on after 95 and we redid it, so.
Okay.
I think it got completed until in the 2000s.
Okay, so it's got to be 15, 18.
And then there was another committee that came on after that to go through it, maybe around 2010 or somewhere.
Okay.
And they made some minor changes.
Okay, with the zoning laws and stuff changing, then let's get it on our next agenda. I think you're correct with 2010. It's been 10 years. We're probably due, but I think you need to have some professionals that are familiar with what's going on to assist us if we have any money. If not, we'd have to go to town meeting, whether we have a special or next year. Okay, last order of business is going to be the 40B project, which is scheduled for May 19th via Zoom. If there's anything else that needs to come.
Should we plan to have a meeting posted just in case we have a quorum that night?
What night?
I will be there that night.
For the Zoom?
Oh, yeah. On the Zoom? Okay, are you going to be there with your own interest or a planning board interest? Because we should discuss it. I mean, I've been on the meeting, but just with my own interest, I was asked to review the drainage. So if you want to make some comments based on the board, we probably ought to discuss it. I don't have a problem if you want to put it on the agenda. If you want to.
Is our next meeting prior to that?
No, I think our meeting's the 20th. It's the day afterwards.
It is. Yeah, I just think that we should post a meeting just in case.
Make a motion to post the planning board meeting for the same as the Zoom for the Country Club Estates 40B project.
You got a motion? You got a motion and a second, and I'll go to any need for discussion. Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call. Amy?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Alan, yes. Okay. That's it. I'm looking for
a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 10:43. We have a motion?
A motion to adjourn at 10:23. 10:43. Oh.
Second?
A second.
Okay, we have a second. I'm gonna go to a roll call. Amy?
Yep.
Gordon?
I'm thinking about it, yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Alan, yes. Thank you very much, folks, and good night.
Right.